Hello.
Hi.
Well,
So,
we're finally here. I can't believe it. It's like good morning and good morning from Tampa, Florida. Today is a beautiful sunny day. And you,
yes,
Marjolaine, where are you now?
I'm in Amsterdam or close to Amsterdam, and it's in the middle of the afternoon, and it's okay. It's a spring day. It's a normal
Oh,
summer, yeah, Sunday spring
perfect,
day.
perfect timing for this
Yes,
amazing day.
yeah.
So good. Welcome, everybody. We're here today on our first Grandma's March. This is really going to be a collective weaving on feminine wisdom. We have lots of special guest speakers. And let's see, whoever is already connecting, you can put in your comments. Where are you coming from? Yeah, we can see people from New Hampshire. Good morning, Dina, Deborah Myers from Michigan, Susana from Colombia. We have people from all over the world. I'm so happy to be here today.
Wow, benvenido from Brazil.
This is amazing. And actually, today is like, yeah, we are definitely here. Maria Silvia from Brazil, my friend, how are you? This is so good. And today is going to be, the idea is to have fun here, like let's feel like we are, and you're going to feel it a little bit, but we're at grandma's house today. And actually, I'm sitting in my grandma's chair today, kind of, okay, I want to feel her energy. I'm going to tell a little bit about them, about Rosita and Pepa, and why are we here, Marge? What do you remember about this? Why are we here today?
Why are we here today? Yes, well, this is a beautiful story how we got connected to each other on the first place, because that's how it started. It all started with the Shakti Leadership Fellowship that we both followed in San Diego. And this Shakti Leadership Fellowship was founded by Nilima Bhat. She will be here today with us. And we both followed the course, but in different years. So we haven't met before. We even haven't met in real life, only through the computer and on the telephone. And I think we both started at different ends of the story of the grandmothers. Well, you will be sharing on your project on Rosita and Pepa. And I started at the other end because now I'm entering my 60s. This year I'm turning 60. Well, I haven't achieved it yet, but I have many questions on this phase of life because it really makes me aware of it's the age of the crone, it's the age of the grandmothers. I'm already a bonus grandmother of two little children of my partner, so it really makes me aware of the atmosphere of the grandmothers. And I also realized that there's a lot I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have. So I started on this quest of what does it mean to be a modern age crone. And I have no idea. So I only have many, many, many questions. But on my quest, I started to look around and I discovered Monica with her project on Rosita and Pepa, which is about her grandmothers. So that's how we got to meet. And we said, oh, there's so much to know and so much wisdom to weave from the past to the present, but also to the future. So that's how we got in touch. And we said, okay, let's see if we can start something beautiful on this, not knowing where it would end. We still don't know where it will end. Maybe there is no
You don't
end.
know.
I have no idea.
That's
But
the fun part.
that's the fun part. So that's how we got acquainted, and that's how we started together on this grandmother's march. And so many beautiful women and men, they decided to join us. And let's see what happens when we start weaving the wisdom of our grandmothers.
It is true, Marge.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I guess I also decided this year, like, this is going to be my year of experimenting with myself and with life and with everything. I always thought, since I have this project, it's been 2 years already after our Shakti leadership graduation and everything. And I always thought, I don't have time. I'm working. Of course, I work in the corporate world, and I never have time. But today, I'm here, and I'm here because lots of people like you. I can say because of Nilima. There is another sister that I can say that is always supporting me, that is there always, always, is Rebecca Salman. And yeah, last year she did an amazing event also during this time. And yeah, I talk about my project, about the grandmothers. My mom was there. Maybe my mom is even connected from Colombia.
Oh,
And I can see even an uncle, Alvaro, is there. So he was Rosita's son. So yeah, this is very exciting. And I think also my husband, Turi, he's in backstage. So you see, like when you put the but you put the intention of the things, they just flow and come, you know. And when I decided, okay, I'm gonna do this event, and it was the idea of Rebecca Nilima, and I say, well, let's do it. And then I found you, which was amazing. We were so aligned, and that's why we're here. And then things started flowing. One woman connected to the other, and everybody started showing up. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know anything about technology. How I'm gonna figure out this? And I had it at my house, you know, was sitting here. My husband, he's from that area, he knows it all, and he's been helping us broadcasting this. He's in the backstage. So there you go. You know, sometimes you don't see you have everything in your hands, and you don't realize.
and
And
suddenly
yeah,
it's there. Yeah, yeah. And it's really also thanks to Nilima, who said, "Well, it's beautiful what you're composing, you two ladies, but let's do something on International Women's Day." So this is how it started. That it really there was some kind of a deadline, or really we had to focus it on a day, and that's how it really got to roll. And now we're here with
oh,
all these people all around the world.
I
Yeah,
know, it's so exciting. I can see Nikki Luna. She's gonna be talking on Monday, tomorrow, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, hi Nikki from London. Oh my God, so many people from California. Larissa, Rebecca is here from Denver. You have to be here.
Yeah.
Maria Silvia, well, she's another sister that always support me with this. So many. Linda Galvan already here. She's going to be later with us doing this amazing healing circle. This is like, yeah, this is amazing to have everybody here. So should we? Yeah, I think the idea here is to tell a little bit of the story of Rosita and Pepa. How was this all born?
Yeah, or shall we start with sharing a little bit on the program? What
Yes.
will be later on
Let me,
today?
yeah, that's a good idea. Let me share here about the agenda.
Yeah, so that the people who are dropping in, that they have
They
some
can see
ideas.
it. Yeah, you're so right. Let me see here. I can share. Bear with us here. Share screen.
So we will start in I don't know how many minutes, but we will have a beautiful chant being sung by Margery Bray from
Yeah.
the Scottish Highlands. We
Não
already
está compartilhando.
yeah, it was really very beautiful. We already heard a little bit of it yesterday. So I'm looking forward to her already.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if it works now. It's always a challenge. There you go. I think now. You can see it now? Mark?
Yes, I
Yes?
can see the screen.
Okay, so this is the agenda for today. You know, we're starting right now, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The idea is to go until 1 p.m. Hopefully we are everything in time. We just want it to flow and be really playful and fun today. So right now we're just welcoming everybody, doing some introductions, and I will be talking a little bit about how all this, what got us to here and why Rosita and Pepa and who are they a little bit, just sharing with all of you. And I have to honor my grandmothers, and that's why we're here. At 10 a.m., we'll have the opening ceremony with this amazing woman called Margery Bray. She is in Scotland, in the Highlands of Scotland, and Rebecca connected us. So you see, there's always these amazing connections. And she will chant and share some of her wisdom with us, and we will introduce her. 10:30, we'll have some wisdom talks and stories from three amazing wise women. Kristin Engvig, she's from the WIN Conference, amazing pioneer, who's working with feminine leadership more than 24 years. Nilima Bhat, she's a speaker, she's the author of Shakti Leadership, she's our mentor. Irena Ateljevic. I'm not sure if I pronounce it right, but Irena is amazing. She's in Croatia. She has this amazing project, all inspiring her grandmother. And we were there 2 years ago in her amazing land. So her project is Terra Mera. She will tell us more about that. What about the panel, Marge? You want to share a little bit? What is it about?
Yes, in the panel we are happy to have the three ladies who shared their wisdom stories. But we also have Raj Sisodia, who is the author of the book Terms of... Oh, I wrote it down.
Well, he's the author of many books of conscious capitalism books. Yeah. And he also wrote the book with Nilima, the Shakti Leadership.
Terms of Endearment. That's why I was confused. Yeah, and he will be sharing on how his grandmother also inspired his work. And we have Christine Arylo also in the panel, and she's also a leadership expert, and she knows a lot about women leadership, and she will be also sharing some sessions later this month.
Yes.
And she will be on the panel today.
Yeah, she will do a session on March 21st. Yeah, she has also an author of amazing book she just wrote. It's called Overwhelm and Over It. And it's all about feminine wisdom way and about the feminine, how to connect to that.
Yes.
So,
yeah. So in the panel, we are really weaving together the collective wisdom. So that's what we will share in the panel. And then the beautiful thing after the panel is really, I'm also looking forward to that with Linda Galvan. It's difficult to describe her, but I think she's channeling and she's a healer, and she will be doing some ancestral healing with us together with Nilima. So this will be beautiful, closing part after the panel. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern time, there will be the closing of what we have shared today. And hopefully Margery is still there and she can honor us with a last chant. But let's play around.
Yeah.
Monica. So how about your grandmothers? Can you share a little bit on how they inspired us all for what's happening today?
I know, yeah, I would love to share that because I'm so passionate about this. And Rosita and Pepa, they were like the most amazing two women. And to honor that, I'm a very visual person, so I want to share some slides to kind of tell the story a little bit before we go into our amazing march that is going to open our ceremony today. So let me share here again. I'm excited about this because I really want to honor them, and that's what we're here today. And bear with us here. There you go.
So you're actually sitting in your grandmother's chair.
I am. I'm sitting. Yeah. After she passed some years ago, I was 6 years ago. Yeah, this was one of her favorite chairs. She used to sit there. So her house was just the most amazing house.
Yeah.
She, everything, one of them, right? This is Rosita, what I'm talking about. Can you see my screen there?
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
No, I don't see anything yet.
I
Yeah,
guess, yeah, I
it's
guess people are
coming.
seeing
There they
it.
are.
Well, I hope they are seeing it.
It's a Rosita, and that's the rose,
Yes.
and the Pepa.
Okay, so yeah. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, this is the story of Rosita and Pepa, and I guess that logo. I have a cousin that she's in France right now, and yeah, she's a graphic designer, and I asked her after all this was born, help me with the logo. So she's the artist, and I will tell a little bit about this. This comes from memories, which is all about my project as well, because the rose, Rosita, in Spanish, I'm originally from Colombia in South America. And Rosita, her name was actually Rosa, which means rose, but she didn't like to be called that way. So everybody called her Rosita. And everything in her house had roses. She was an artist. She would paint roses. Her chair, the chair that I am, everything behind is roses, and everything will smell like that, like flowers. So it was a magical place. And Pepa, actually, her name was Josephine or Josefina in Spanish. But everybody called her Pepa. Since I was born, Pepa for me was her name. I realized that her name was Josephine when I was an adult. For me, it was Pepa. It's just a nickname. And why the tangerine? Because when I remember about this project, I'm starting with all the memories. And one of the first memories that came to me was in her house, playing with my cousins, eating tangerines, and planting the seeds in her garden. And the curious thing, you know how like things come, is like pepa in Espanol also means seed. So it's like, yeah, it was all related. So yeah, this is story. These are the two amazing women, Rosita to the left and Pepa to the right. Rosita is my mom's mother, and Pepa is the mom of my dad. Yes, beautiful, powerful,
Beautiful
amazing.
woman. Yes.
I know they are so beautiful.
Yeah.
I get emotional when I see this.
Yeah.
So when I started this project, I'm gonna tell how it was related to Shakti. The idea of all this is always going back to move forward. You know, it's like, oh, this can be very nostalgic, or no, really, because it's like you go back to your roots, your essence, and that's where you find that energy when you connect with yourself, with what you really are, and this moves you forward, you know. So it's like weaving my own red thread. And just to tell a little bit, like I said, I am from Colombia in South America, and for those that maybe only heard bad things, is a country that divides, you know. It's always been like in my heart, and it has this beautiful nature. The roses are amazing. I am from Medellin, which is a city that people only knows a lot because of the violence of Pablo Escobar and all these drug dealers and sad stories, but behind that is an amazing culture, amazing people, the beautiful nature, beaches, the coffee, the emeralds. And I really had to bring this because I wanted to honor all the beauty. And at some point in life, and this is a very Catholic, very traditional country where women are, at least in my time generation, and I can tell, very expected to go the traditional path. You only to get married, of course, also study and work and have children and things like that. But our roots are planted in very strong women. You know, very strong women. Like my two grandmas that came from amazing families. Both of them raised 7 children. So they are big families, used to be very traditional, and the grandmothers were the center, or still are the center of the family. They will run the families. They are the ones that gather everybody together. And just to tell a little bit, I grew in my career. I study. I moved out from Colombia. I guess I was running out of all this violence and many conservative traditions and things that, yeah. So I lived in Brazil. I lived some years in Spain, in the US. Right now I'm rooted in the US, but Brazil is my other soul country. And I grew in the corporate world, in a very masculine world. And I was always looking for women and references and things like that. I never had it. And moving to another country, telling about myself from being from Colombia, it's like, who are you? I didn't have a reference of a school, and it was a country that wasn't sexy or anything like that. And I was just looking for reference. And I guess my reference was my family, was my grandmothers. And I was looking for more. And there I got into conscious capitalism, reading the book, got connected to Rag. And I'm so happy that he's going to be here with us today. I really want to thank him, represented that masculine energy. And through him, I got connected to our beautiful Nilima, and to her book, and to the Shakti Fellowship, and to the amazing sisterhood that we have. And all it started from there. And one day, in the middle of this project, we had a project to graduate from the Shakti Fellowship, which is 9 months. And one day I was flying to visit Nina, which is one of our sisters from the Shakti. We call it ourselves sisters, or from the fellows. And I was going to that retreat, and I was in a plane from Houston to Austin. I was just like the most scary flight in my life, in the middle of a storm, and I'm so afraid of airplanes. And oh my God, the pilot said, I'm trying to get back. We're in the middle of a storm, and there was nothing to do. People started praying, and I was by myself. And I don't know. I started praying or meditating. I have no idea. But suddenly I felt this calm, and I really felt the presence of my two grandmothers saying very clear to me a message that be calm, and you just have to talk to the girls and women about us, the grandmothers, about the feminine wisdom. And I saw very clear their names, Rosita and Pepa. In that order. It wasn't Pepa and Rosita. I was seeing her that. So it was like a vision in the middle of a crazy thing. And I got into the retreat. We're here, and told them all about that. And it was born there, like I started playing around with that. What should I do? Christina Arylo, that's going to be here today, she helped me a lot with that as well, because it's like, what should I do with this? Is this about like just telling my story? And then with everything we learned from Shakti, and you probably remember, is like, yeah, there is a way, and one of our principles in Shakti is the wholeness. And when you integrate all your parts of psychological parts, the wisdom, which is your parents or your grandparents, your feminine side or feminine energy, your masculine side or masculine energy, your child, your inner child, when you integrate all that, there is the way to your wholeness. And I started playing with this. And Christina Arylo told me, play with art. That's something I like since I was a kid, and it comes since I was a girl, and it comes from my grandma, from my mom. So I started doing some collages and things like that. And then you see, everything came from memories, and the Rosita and the Pepa and Tangerine and everything I wanted to do. And I realized that connecting to that wisdom, and that was my path, connected to that wisdom, it will take me, and I call it the seeds of love and wisdom, because those seeds connected to the wise grandmothers, to that feminine wisdom, it was a window that took me directly into memories, into remembering everything that was my inner child, my memories when I was a kid. And I realized I was so full of feminine energy. I studied in an all-girls school, which is down there, the picture below, everybody in blue. And yeah, I had a sister, I had my grandmas, and I was just like looking somewhere from the feminine energy when I left to Colombia, and I started playing with art, and in my case, this feminine this child energy, this foolish energy, as Nilima said in the book, it gives me the energy, the playful energy to gather my masculine, and this is her playing one day we were in Egypt, showing me how to incorporate that masculine energy. And I said, I have to do something with this. And also Iris, which is another of our sisters, she's going to be also playing with us during this month, showing and talking about her grandmother, I decided I'm going to start calling the grandmas of the world. This is not just about my grandma. And you see, I started interviewing people, and some of them are gonna be here. Like Irena is the second one here. You can see it. I created this Instagram page or account to create awareness around the grandmas, to post the stories about the feminine wisdom, the memories, the essence, and I was just playing like I'm doing today, and these stories were amazing. Like the memories, some were very good, some were like fun, and this about grandmas, and others were very sad. But I started realizing connected to this, and we did it together with you, Marge. Like these interviews, some of you, like Marge, for example, didn't have very good experience with their grandmothers, or they don't remember anything. Some others. And even with that, it's bringing memories, is a healing process. So these are some of the grandmas I have met through the memories, through videos. Oh my God, so many amazing, from all over the world, so much wisdom, so much stories, so much power in there that I needed to bring them and honor them because they are part of this project. And yeah, they connected me to that feminine energy at the end, completing that wholeness from the wisdom, going to the full, to the child, to the masculine energy, and back to the feminine energy. And understanding that I was accessing something universal here. And because there were so many symbols, because in my questions, I was like, okay, how do you relate your grandma with what element? Is it water? Is it fire? And there was everything, symbols like the braid of an olive tree from Irena, or a big old grandma hug, or I don't know, the flowers. There is so much sensorial memories of foods, of a cake, of a recipe, of sad moments as well, of grieving, of is everything, but it's just everything that represents. So it was all my wholesomeness there integrated. And how are we here today? I really started questioning myself, what is needed in the world, this connection, and after what is happening and everything, we're losing our connection. People are lonely, people are searching for something, and that connection to the senses, to the elements, to the human, to nourish, to self-care, to the wisdom, to the healing, to the joy. Where is it? And I realized the grandmother, what she means, or at least the archetype, because some of us, maybe we didn't have the grandmas that I had, but this archetype was something we have to find again and connect to that, and that caring, even if it is cycles of life and death, but the grieving is important, the motherly love, the protection, those childhood memories, the connection to who we really are, to our land. That is amazing. And if we connect that, especially as women or the leaders of the world, the men, they need to connect to this to find this feminine wisdom and heal humanity and heal the system through this. That's what we need. And I wanted to bring this because this was another inspiration that I found this somewhere in the Instagram. It happens to be from a Brazilian guy. I even invited him to this event, but from some reason couldn't make it. And it's called Mom, Can I Sleep at Grandma's Today? And I'm going to read it very quick just to end this amazing and calling, because what I want everybody who is connected, wherever you are, is to feel like this. And it says, I heard in the bus this morning, when I managed to turn around to see my child, it made me go back to the past with just, she was no longer within my reach. I travel far. When did time go by and make us adults full of boring priorities? We fight every day for something we are not even sure we really want. when in fact, grandma's house is what everyone needs to be happy. Grandma's house is where the hands of the clock take a vacation with us and the minutes I can read. Grandma's house is where a simple pasta and a homemade bread seem to have a different flavor. Grandma's house is where the cupboards hide old clothes and mysterious tools. Grandma's house is where the closet boxes become chests of secret treasures ready to be unveiled. Grandma's house is where toys rarely come ready, they are invented on the spot. Grandma's house is where everything is mysteriously possible, magic happens, and without worries. Grandma's house is where we find the remains of our parents' childhood and the beginning of our lives. Grandma's house, on the inside, is the address of our deepest affection, where everything is allowed. That luxury no longer belongs to me. Unfortunately, it will live with me, only in my memories. Even so, if I could place an order now, oof. Yeah.
Any order of all orders in the world.
Thank you. In the world, I would order
The same thing.
Yeah.
Can I sleep at grandma's today?
Oh, yeah. Oof. This wasn't planned.
Monica, how beautiful.
I know, this is amazing. And this is what I want everybody to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is playful. And today we want to have fun, to start planting this seed that connects all of us to that true self. So Grandma March is here to say, and all our grandmas, be wise. And my grandma used to say that. Be true to yourself and enjoy life. So yeah, I stopped sharing to to give a space to our beautiful March. I'm so happy with this. Sharing this story makes me emotional, very happy, and it's so good to be here.
So your beautiful grandmas and your inspiration, and this grandma's house that we are all in connected now. So let's make the world a grandmother's house
again, right?
Yes, with all these beautiful elements. And I can share, because when we met for the first time, the first thing I said is, well, I don't have these big memories of my grandmother, and even one I didn't even meet. But still, we got connected. You had these beautiful interviews also with me, and it helped me also a bit in the healing process of having missed this beautiful energy. And it also brings the longing for finding the past and then connecting it to now and connecting it to the future. So I think this is the beautiful combination, that me being on this quest, looking for, I don't know what exactly, because I also feel this grandmother's energy and this beautiful memories of your grandmothers. I think, well, I'm not sure whether I can be a grandmother like that today. So I have all these questions about it, but I also feel that there's something in this, the collection of the elements. That's what we need in the world today. So I'm really very, very grateful for you for bringing this all together and not knowing what you started, but you just bring it together and see what happens.
With it.
Yeah, let's play. Yeah.
And thank you for being here with me. You know, you've been always there, holding the space and being the grandma of today. And I know you're doing the most amazing thing with your, being a grandma with your family. And that's the idea. Just understand how powerful it is to be a grandma, how powerful it is to just understand the feminine wisdom and connect to that again.
And I think, yes, we will go to the next in the program. But Monica, I think your story is so beautiful. It needs more space and more time to be shared. So we think about it later this month. Maybe we can make an extra post or whatever. And I see also in the chat that people are asking, is it being broadcasted, or is it being filed somewhere? So I think your story we can make it longer. We can share more time on it.
I will
It's
love that.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you. And now we welcome, I guess now we welcome Margery Bray. So
Yes.
welcome, Marge. Let us introduce her to really help us here.
Hello.
Oh my God, so
Hello.
beautiful. Look at you. How are you today? From Scotland.
Yeah.
Islands. So Marge is in Scotland and she's amazing. And as I said, Rebecca Salman, my dear sister, connected us, and that's why you're here, and you're gonna share your beautiful chanting, your beautiful story with us. And Marge, if you can help us here, Turi, let's put her picture with all her amazing. So she was born in Scotland, and I'm not going to read everything, but she's working with healing, with trauma for a long period of time with children. And I know her family comes from family ancestrals, singers, and all this chanting comes from there. And she's been a professor, an author, and now she's sharing today with us all that wisdom, and she wants to collect, and she is working for that, to collect all her ancestral chanting and singing from Scotland that brings so much healing, helps with grieving, the newborns, babies, and she's gonna chant today. So welcome, Marge. Now it's with you. It's your story, and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody from Scotland. It's a joy to be here. I'm going to begin now by chanting a transition chant. This is based on the sound of the red shank, thought to be the sound of the red shank, which is a liminal bird. And the red shank inhabits air, sea, and earth. And this is a chant that's sung in the transition of the soul to the next life. It's called the Pilililu. So that was the Pilililu. I'm going to talk today a little bit about my own family tradition. I was born into a Highland Scottish family. My family were all singers, poets, fiddlers, musicians on both sides of my family. And my mother sang to me on the breast. She had actually sung to me in the womb. And she sang to me our songs, our traditional Scots songs. So I was singing by the time I was 6 months old. I was sitting in my pram singing. And I didn't really understand the depth of the musical legacy I'd been given until much later in my life. But I've always sung. And I think that songs came to me in the breast milk, part of my genetic inheritance, really, part of what gave me a place in the land and my own landscape. My grandfather was a fiddler, so he went to the First World War with his fiddle, and he played all the way through the war in Gallipoli, in France, and he came back after the war alive with the fiddle intact, which was some achievement, really. My father was a dancer, so my mother wrote poetry and in our native Doric language. So I've got it steeped in me, really. As time went on in my life, I moved on and I began to work with trauma. I trained and worked in therapeutic work with traumatized kids. And I did that. I pioneered ways of working with children that enabled them to talk about and express some of the most difficult, dangerous things that were in their hearts. These were children who couldn't live within their own families because they were unable to do that because of the trauma that was there. And they were trying to heal. They were trying to regain balance. And I began to work with toys and play. And these children came through my playroom, and they went through their own Odyssey journey, and they began their process of healing. And out of the fragmentation became some kind of integration. And during that process, I heard in their voices something very interesting. I heard a process of harmonization that went on as they began to re-stitch the fabric of their existence, as they began to reconnect their very, very shattered threads, really, of their lives. And I think that was when I actually clocked that basically that human harmony is manifest in sound and vibration. Because I heard it. That kind of experience took me on into a deeper level of understanding of trauma. I was required through life to do my own recalibration. The universe said, Madge, you know what? You got to start this deep process of your own healing and integration. And I guess I could have gone up into jungles and taken ayahuasca, but instead I was in a psychiatric hospital having a huge recalibration. And during that time of my life, that recalibration came to me in sound. I was singing at the top of my voice. I was getting download after download of incredible music, sounds and words, sound, word, and color. There was all the etheric connections. And they came to me and I just wrote them down. They were popping me full of pills at the time, but I was still singing and writing these things down and singing and finding. Out came all of my old ancient Hebridean tunes and songs that I'd learnt from my grandmothers and my aunts and my family. And also came some words that I didn't understand at the time. And you know what? Often it's like that in my life. I discover that you things happen to you and you don't know why they've happened and you don't understand what's going on. And I've learned, as my wisdom body has grown, simply just to log them and say, okay, that's for now. You're living this. And this may have some kind of connection to something you need to do in the future, but don't second guess it, just live it. So what came through at that time was something very beautiful, which I'm going to read to you now. It's about one of our Celtic gods, Angus, maker of dreams. And I'm going to read the words that came to me. Far away beyond the mist on the cool high ben was Dream Angus, maker of dreams. And he opened up his heart, and from it came a voice, and it was the voice of a woman, and it was all of him. And she kissed the wind with her song, and it carried softly down the steep corries to the valleys below. And in the song the wind carried were the rich brown pools of the peatlochans, and the orange flame of the rowans in August, the taste of the honey on the heather, and the gentle green of the soft young bracken in spring when it is first new. The wail of the banshee was in her song, and the desolate keening of the woman after the battle, the feathers of the fluttering birds of Angus, and the howl of the very land of the Scots. And the soft breeze carried the melodies like gossamer wings to the empty, jagged crevices and the cold, stony, broken places that never knew the light of the sun. And the clean, kind notes smoothed the drab, rocky outcrops and filled the empty greyness with the gentle pink of a summer dawn. And when those words came to me, I genuinely didn't understand that they were probably going to shape a large part of the next part of my life, really. I had some other very deep experiences. I had already understood that I wanted to look at human harmony in relation to sound, but I didn't understand how that would be. I wanted to take my voice and use my voice as a path of service. I had moved on from my huge career, which took me all over the world in trauma, lecturing and teaching all over. I had to move on from that. It was actually just rest from me. It was taken from me. And at the time, it was kicking and screaming because I didn't want to leave that field. But actually, I was being prepared for something else. Had I understood it at the time, that's what had happened. So the next chapter of my life took me to Russia, where I was working with people who were trying to create a new beginning from the huge fragmentation, the perestroika. They were trying to create a global citizenship of children out of the orphanage system, and I spent years working with them. And then life took me to Bosnia after the war in Bosnia, and I found myself in one of the most life-changing experiences that I've had, really, which was that I was outside the concentration camp at Omorska. This was one of the Milosevic killing camps, and I was there to do bearing witness work. We went to Srebrenica also, and I was listening to story after traumatized story, and we were being guided to go to Omorska, which we were taken by a large group of women and men who had been incarcerated there and who had seen unspeakable horror. And they wanted to take us back to actually show us, this is where I was, this is where this happened, this is where my brother died, this is, and this place hadn't been cleaned up actually. So we were going to bear witness in the very rawest of raw experiences. And when we got to the gate, it had been agreed that we would be allowed access. They couldn't stop us having access. But anyway, it was agreed we would have access. And this group of people were waiting to go into this. And some 2 men came to the gate and said, "You can't come in here. This is a brick factory." And around me, there were maybe about 50 to 100 people who had all been incarcerated there and who had seen unspeakable things and had survived with their lives and wanted to tell their stories. And in the moment of that absolute denial, somebody said, "Piesno, Maggie, piesno, sing, sing," in Russian. Sing, sing, sing. And I didn't know what to sing, but I just thought, okay, please help me with this. And I got Ave Maria, Bach Gounod's Ave Maria. I'd learned it at school. And I just went into this song, Ave Maria. And it was all I could think of to sing, really. And suddenly, as I was singing in the rain, suddenly this crowd of people started to walk towards me, and people started to touch my body, hold my body, grab my body. And I thought maybe they were going to kill me because I was singing what was essentially a Christian song. But actually what was happening was that these women were trying to touch the song, that it was bringing something to them that was so profound that they had to feel it with their physical bodies. And so I just carried on singing, and I was being pulled eventually to the ground, and I kept singing, and eventually I was just covered in a pile of sobbing bodies still singing. And that was an experience that took me many years to process, because it helped me to see, I think, that that sound touches in a profound way, and that we have an ancient wisdom that is our song lines, our connection to our indigenous sound healing. I started to think more then about harmonization and harmony and how that worked, because I already made that realization. And eventually I got to be shown a country which holds a very special connection to harmony. And I was still seeking to use my voice for the resolution of human conflict and for grief and for loss. I was guided, really. I asked continually to be guided. And I was taken into a journey of Georgian polyphony. Georgia is in the High Caucasus. Georgia is in it's the other corner of Europe to Scotland. And it's a pivotal country between East and West. And it holds enormous conflict resolution, if you like, because it's been an Axis country. And in the process of my being there, of going there, I heard this music, and I knew that was the next chapter of my life. So for the next 10 years, I traveled in the Caucasus Mountains. I learned from the songmasters and mistresses the ancient harmonization tool that they carried. They have their own healing songs. I learned them. I learned how to sing polyphony, and because it was natural to me, because my ears had been glued to my mother in singing, so it wasn't hard for me to pick up traditional music. And I had a whole journey through Georgia and learned some very, very magnificent women's chants, one of which nobody was singing, and I had to bring it back to the country and sing it again. Anyway, it was clear to me that I'd been given this as a spiritual task. But that took me into a deeper realization, which was that we must have our own music. We must have our own ancient indigenous music that does this job. Women have been grief tending naturally since time began. It's been their role. And yet in my own country, we've lost that role. We've lost the connection to women's grief tending. And that made me start to explore that kind of connection. And I started to explore our ancient grief tending. So maybe hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we would have had, each clan chief would have had their Manahanturis, which was their chief keening woman. And she would have held the process of the holding of the uncried tears at a funeral. So she created like a bowl, really, where people came together to cry the uncried tears and also to enable the soul to make its transition. And as time went on during the 1600s, the church, like it did all over Europe and everywhere else, I guess, banned that practice. So women's traditional role of grief tending was taken away. And these old women, Manahanturis, they lost their role. But what then happened was that the 1600s, 1700s was the main time of our most noble music creation, which was our bagpipe music, and in particular our pibroch, which is our classical bagpipe music. It was always the province of the men, and we had pipers who had piping schools in the Hebrides, primarily in Skye, in different parts of the northwest of Scotland, and these men would have held the tradition of piping. They were the best pipers. That was the zenith of the time of the Scots bagpipes. And the laments that they were creating came out of their life experience. They didn't read music. They created these extraordinarily beautiful laments, which are still with us today. And they brought into their compositions the sounds of the women keening. So in a way, I had to go back through the masculine to get to the feminine and start to study these sounds and our ancient pibrochs and our ancient ways of holding these sacred spaces of grief resolution. And so the last 5 years of my life has been in studying this and in finding those sounds. And so I have sounds that are incredibly powerful, visceral sounds that, or chants that hold the visceral. I have other chants like you just heard, which hold the transition of the soul to the next life, which is one of the ones that I just sang to you. And then we have our comfort crooning and our lullabies, and these are all part of the whole panoply of grief. So I'm going to chant another one now for you, which is an ancient pibroch chant. This would have been chanted after the battle, and this one comes from the 1490s, really. It's after the Battle of the Park between the MacDonalds and the Mackenzies, right up in northwest Scotland, Strathpeffer it comes from. And it's a very beautiful pibroch, it's a very beautiful pipe tune, which would have contained the sounds of the women wailing within it. And I'm chanting it through something called the cantarach, which is the tool that the pipers used to teach young pipers. So they would do this mouth music, which would teach the pibroch. So you can listen to somebody playing this on the pipes as this chant on the pipes. But what I'm doing is singing you the cantarach, which is the transmission tool, if you like, of the traditional bagpipes. Now, what you see are iconic Scots piper standing on the battlements, walking about with a kilt and playing in a highly prescribed way is really nothing to do with this. To me personally, it's like a bit of a caricature, really, of what this of the true guts of this music. So now I'm going to chant you a really deep, visceral chant. So it's a powerful, powerful chant, and you can take yourselves into this. I want just to warn you that it's a powerful chant. So this is the part pibroch. And my work now will be to collect these chants and create a vehicle through which people can access them for our current day terrible problems with grief, because we've lost the capacity to process our grief, and because we've lost some of the songline mechanisms that hold that tradition. And my work is in trying to restore these through the feminine and bring grief tending to its rightful place as a part of the feminine in balance with the masculine. That's kind of the work that I've been asked to do, really. So I'm going to chant you now a very, the part Pibroch. And normally I would do this on my knees, and I would do it in ceremony, and I would do it after a death, so that the grief process could find its salve, really, or find its container, its sacred container. So just 1 minute, and I'll just get to a place where I can do this. Adrori, 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 ro, 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 araro, aro, adri, arodri, arao, ro, 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 ari, arari, ri, 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 araro, adrori, adro, ari, aro, ro, 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 araro, ro, ahedri, ro, adrori, ahedri, ro, 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 araro, ro, adrori, aro, adri, adri, ro, 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 ro.
Oh my God, Marge.
So I think I'm going to stop there now. I think that's time for me to stop. I'm happy later to answer any questions anybody's got about it or whatever. And I'm going to get on with the work of collecting these. And at the very end, I'll sing you a gentle lullaby, which is a different energy. That's the grief, which so needs releasing in our current root work.
That was so powerful, and I can just thank you enough. And all these, I think, weeks we have been talking, and I'm learning so much from you. I wish I could be there to hug you, and hear you and thank you, because this is amazing. And one day I will go to Scotland and visit you, and wish you your beautiful land. And what stays with me after all this chanting and all the amazing story is how much sound and the elements really touches our heart, our souls in a profound way, and connect us back to our indigenous wisdom, to the traditions, and to the human beings that we really are. I really want to thank you for that, for all this love and spreading this. And I'm so happy that I'm helping you spread this out there, because this is beautiful and everybody needs to hear, to listen, to feel it. And I guess we have to learn with you again how to grieve, how to have comfort through sound. And thank you for everything, Marge.
Pleasure.
And we have more later in the
Yeah,
closing ceremony, so stay tuned, because Marge is
Okay.
going to do another beautiful chant at the end. So thank you, Marge.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
I guess we invite now. We're going to have a little bit of changes here, and we have to be flexible. We were going to go with Kristin Engvig, but our beautiful Irena from Croatia, she had something coming, and we're flexible, so we are going to invite Irena. She's here with us. Hey, Irena, you're on mute, so you can unmute yourself, and now we can hear you. Welcome, beautiful Irena from Croatia. I was saying at the beginning that 2 years ago I was there, 2019, right, in your beautiful land. We were there with the Shakti sisters for the graduation of the Shakti Fellowship, and I'm so happy. And you were one of the first ones I interviewed when I heard that all your project and all the amazing things that you're doing in Croatia and in your land were inspiring your grandmother. So it was like, it's an honor to have you, to have her energy here with me today. And Irene is an amazing doctor and study in environmental. She went out of her land, she came back, and now she has this amazing project, Terra Mira. And I really want to spend some time with you, just asking you to share your story, to share some of your memories about your grandma and how she inspired you, the work you do today, and the leader that you are today, and how she influenced it in all this, and share us about your amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you, Monica. And I greet everyone present here, and I'm really, really happy and delighted that I've been invited to this beautiful gathering and celebration, indeed, of our feminine wisdom and our grandmothers. And indeed, the project that now I'm currently running, from which I'm greeting you, Terra Mira, is very much has been inspired by honoring the grandmother's wisdom and everything what she has passed on to me. So I would like actually to start with one poem that is not written by my grandmother, because my grandmother went only to 2 years of primary school, so she didn't even know how to write, but she was so wise, and she taught me so much that whenever I speak about her, I can always come to my tears, I have to say. She shaped me, she influenced me, and infused so many things within me, which of course, as we grow in our adolescence and all that, kind of a little bit got in the background. But now it's during my career and everything has come back full on, everything what she instilled in me. So I would like to start with some poetry that speaks about her relationship to the earth, and that this project that I'm doing that is very much about honoring the earth. So it goes. This earth is my sister. I love her daily grace, her silent daring, and how loved I am. How we admire this strength in each other. All that we have lost, all that we have suffered, all that we know, we are stunned by this beauty. and I do not forget what she is to me and what I am to her. And I have been citing this poem at so many different symposia and conferences and gatherings, and it is still speaks to me at so many different levels, because this is the feminine wisdom that has been following me my whole life, as I described, as I was growing up next to my grandma, who knew how to honor Mother Earth, how to really look after the land, where I was growing up on a small island in Croatia, in Dalmatia. And it's in many ways, I like to use the metaphor of Paulo Coelho, alchemist, of Santiago leaving this olive tree and going on his life journey to find out actually that his whole journey was needed in order to appreciate the value of his olive tree that he left at the beginning of the journey. However, I am very critical of the patriarchal culture that is full of these kind of stories of heroes, from Campbell and others. It's always about hero journey. And Fatima, in this case of alchemist, is always there to hold the space, to wait for her hero to go on a journey and come back, where she still patiently waits. In my case, I had a dream that I was going on my big heroine journey already back then in my teens. But the memories that I have of my early childhood, of my grandma, and the way how I would dry the figs on this kind of special grid that she made out of the straw, where we could dry out the figs, how she would get up very early in the morning and go to work on the land, how she was looking after every old person in a small village who was dying. You know, there was a beautiful tradition back then that whoever, they did not have a hospice or hospitals. When the family would have a old person dying, then all women would go and help the family to look after the dying person, keep them the company, and nurture them and holding them and sing around them. So I remember my grandma would take me to these houses and homes, and I was constantly holding onto her skirt. The tradition back then, unfortunately, was with this kind of part of the tradition that when someone would die in a family, woman had to immediately start wearing black. So she was, if you know the image of the southern Italy or Greece, where the women are with the black scarves on their heads and the long black skirts, that's how she was dressed already since her early 40s. And I was always kind of holding onto that long black skirt wherever she was going. And she was working in this skirt in the land and in the vegetable garden and collecting the olives. And I remember all of the groups of these olives that I would go and visit with her, and how we would collect the olives and then make the olive oil, as we had a little olive oil factory. At that time on the island, there were no cars, there was no tourism. It was at the time from mid-60s until mid-70s, until my age 10, 12. I was born in 1965. And then the tourism started to come. We got the bridge built to the island. The cars started to come onto our streets. And this whole kind of romantic relationship with the land, although it was very hard work for my grandma, of course, for me as a child, was very romantic. It kind of started to dissipate under the feet of my under the feet. And I could see how my village was starting to develop very fast. And then, of course, my adolescence came, and I went to university, and I was excited to explore the world, as I was just referring at the beginning of the alchemist, and going for my heroine journey. And my whole life had a lot of different journeys, and of course, I don't have time to go into all of the details of it, but we just heard this part of the story of Marge going to Bosnia, and unfortunately, as a young woman, I was a witness to civil war in Yugoslavia, married to a Serbian husband, and as a young mother with a child, we had to escape to all the way to New Zealand, because it was very difficult at the time to be a mixed marriage, as they called us, Croatian and Serbian nationality mixed together. And we had to decide for our child if she's going to be a Croat or a Serb. It was a very difficult time. And I remember still my grandma, how she was very quiet. And even at the time of that, she unfortunately experienced that war also. So she experienced 3 wars: the First World War, the Second, and finally the Civil War of Yugoslavia. And she died at the end of the Civil War in 1995. But back then I was already in New Zealand, and I remember when they called me that she passed away. For me, it was very difficult because I couldn't go back. The war was still very fresh, and it was not easy. I didn't have much money to go back, so I couldn't come to her funeral. And then all this kind of memories and everything what she taught me was kind of kept coming to me as I was studying. I was doing a PhD in New Zealand, focused on environmental science and sustainability. And I was doing a lot of research in South Pacific, in Asia, in Australia, in New Zealand. And I was kind of realizing how much this overdevelopment and this kind of modernist exploitative paradigm is really destroying our environment and our Mother Earth, to which I sang this poem at the beginning. And I was getting more and more worried what is going to be then happen to my own country, and started to feel more and more nostalgic about going back. So in 2005, I go back to Europe. I start to teach at Wageningen University, Netherlands. And that's when I started some projects in my village, where I set up a center for environmental education and sustainability. And then I realized how many problems are on the ground, how much we are so much in the theory of sustainability, and now we speak about regeneration paradigm, but there is so little practice and implementation on the ground. So I started to remember all of the wisdom of my grandma and how she practiced organic agriculture because there was no other at that time when she was alive. We in Croatia only got chemical agriculture after the Civil War. Until 1990, we didn't have any pesticide, any chemical agriculture. It was all small-scale organic farming. And this is how I was kind of realizing more and more as I was standing in the ivory tower of my academic position, how I needed to walk the talk. I was feeling that I was only talking the walk, and I didn't walk the talk of sustainability, of regeneration. And then I started one project after another in Croatia, and then eventually I decided to leave institutional academia and come back to Croatia. And since then, which has been the last 7 years, I've been acting as an activist, as social entrepreneur. And now I bought this piece of land not far from my island, where I'm connecting the island together with this rural land in one abandoned area. It was very much affected by the war. It used to be very rich agricultural village, inhabited by Serbian population. They all left for Serbia at the time of the Civil War. So I'm kind of reconciling a lot of issues by coming to this land, because it has so much potential, but it requires the regeneration of the land, of the community, of the culture. And this is where I really want to practice the regeneration paradigm on the ground. So the reason why I can't stay with you for the rest of the of this meeting is because I just got in unexpected visitors who now just keep coming, and everyone wants to volunteer. We have a beautiful weather. We are pruning the trees. We have just planted more than 200 fruit trees, indigenous fruit trees. So with the full agrobiological diversity, with the whole range of from walnuts and hazelnuts and almonds to peaches and apples and cherries and sour cherries and you name it. And it's very exciting to be able to work on the regeneration of the land, and then having this sense of community as everyone is kind of getting attracted to it from international world and locally as well. So, and that's all comes from all this inspiration that I received from my grandma, who was living from the land and growing together with the land. And I'm so happy that I can now be back to honor her wisdom and even, and walk her steps, but not necessarily going back to very hard life she had, but combining it with the new technologies and regenerational soil science and everything what now also soil science and the new discoveries are helping us to improve our practices to regenerate the soil, because that's one definitely huge regenerational practice that we can help also global climate change and work on a bigger scale. So that's my story.
What an amazing story, and I love to hear it over and over again. I feel like a child just like listening to this amazing story, and I love it. I love the way your grandma connects all of us and that story to what is really community, to what is to value the land, to understand that our food comes from there, and how you really have to value and do something really beautiful with that, and how you went away of your land and came back to create this amazing sustainable project. And I was there in that land before you started creating it, and it's so beautiful and powerful. I can't just wait to go back. And thank you for sharing your story, for the work you're doing, because I think all of us have to get more inspired about this ancestral wisdom and bring it back and go back into community and take care of our land, of our food. And this is what you are doing. So thank you, Irena, be here today. And I know you were going to join us for the panel, but that's why we gave you a little bit more of time, because I really wanted to hear your story, not only me, but everybody out there. So thank you. And I know you have other things to do, so we're flexible here. We're just having fun and playing with all of this. And I really
appreciate it. I'm sorry for the last minute plan, but now,
that's okay.
As I said, it's just beautiful friends came from the town of Šibenik, and you've been there also. And so they have gone down on the land, and I said I promised I will be back with them. And so I appreciate your flexibility in the last minute. I'm so sorry I will not be able to. I will just try to stay for a few more minutes, but then after that I really have to go back to the community on the ground. So and I feel really blessed for the fact that I have this incredible international community from all around the world, and indeed for what the vision that we made as a Shakti group, this incredible Croatia pilgrimage tour we did. Who would, how strong our vision was, that only 9 months later, the land has been here, bought, and now already getting restored. So I'm sure Marjolein is planning a great
celebration
party, and I'm sure we will come. We will all meet. At least, most of us will meet here and celebrate next year in May. So that's very exciting.
It is. And we invite everybody that is connected. You have to go to Terra Mera and visit Irena and her project and all that she's doing. So Thanks again, Irena. Thank you from my
you.
heart. Send you love. Enjoy your friends and visitors, and thank you for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
You bye. Okay, good. So, well, thank you everybody also for flexibility. That's the way we have to play here today. And I guess our next guest, very special guest, is Kristin Engvig. So welcome, Kristin.
Hi.
I'm so
Nice
happy to have you here.
Yeah.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you. And it's great to be part of this. Thank you.
I know. I'm so excited, like inviting you, and we are having all these wise women and having you here. I've been following your work like for many years, the WIN conference and everything, amazing things that you're doing. So yeah, I want to welcome and for everybody, Kristin Engvig she is a speaker, she's a consultant, she's an amazing leader that has been working more than 24 years, and she's the founder of the WIN conference. It's the Women's International Networking, right? Yes, I'm trying to read from here. And 24 years on this pioneering, working with companies, working with feminine leadership, working with leaders, and so much. I know you are now not sure today, but you are from Norway, and you have been doing this around the world with so many women that you're touching. And I love to have you here today, and I really want to understand. And the same thing we did with Irena in a very playful, informal way, just to tell us your story, because I'm even curious to know about it. We just met recently in some of never physically, just virtually, and heard so much about you also from Nilima and from others, and participated in the WIN conference this year. It was amazing. I know. So we invite everybody for that. But now I want to hear your story, your memories of your ancestors, your grandmas, and how do you think that influenced and inspired you on all the amazing work you're doing and the leader that you are today?
Oh, no, it's really great. So, well, I grew up on the west coast of Norway, and I feel very much both of my grandmothers are very present in my life. And so the one of my grandmothers came from sort of some town in some fjord in the mountains where you will very hard place to live really, but it moved to more out to the coast and married my grandfather, and they had a farm and she had 8 children. And I think what sometimes comes to my mind, sometimes I think about her hands, and that goes with the other grandmother too, like how in this baking bread or working with the land, and just they too had this huge, or not a huge actually, had a farm, and how they were dealing with it, like it was all organic, but it was the only way they did things, from strawberry one year in that soil, the next year the potatoes, the fish. And I think one of the things that comes very present when I think about her is also resilience, the hardship of weather, and also working with seasons. So when you in Norway, the winters are very cold, and there is summer with lots of light. So they have to harvest, they have to plan, they have to be very present to seasons, and with so many children, And I remember when I was little, I also thought she was very strict. I remember her like and 16 grandchildren we were, and we had to sit here and get the bread and do the thing. So I remember thinking, oh God, she's so strict. And then I thought, oh, in some ways she's also that leader, because how can you do when you have cows and hams and potatoes and apples and berries and 8 children and 16 grandchildren and a husband? And so, but they also had a very good, I think, partnership in their relationship. So sometimes I think about that too, she and my granddad, how they all were, and they worked so much, but they lived very long. Both of them almost turned 100. And but what I remember very much is this sort of how she was good at economizing on everything. In some ways, like there was always enough. They always had something, and And I mean, growing up after the war, they had to be careful. When we came to visit, there was always a lot of butter on the cakes and stuff they made, because that was something that they thought was luxurious. But I remember this, I think this hard work, or not only hard work, but like work, no laziness on their side. They always, you know, I made sure they used all the resources, reused, recycled, all those things that you think is new. It's not new.
I
That's
know.
going on all over, you know. And also always bringing people together. We were a lot of cousins, and there was always other people there too. I remember when we went to visit, so it was always people. There was always food. There was always enough. So in some ways, this sort of thinking of abundance that we also talk a lot about, in some ways it was there, even if I know that they must have been very hard, particularly after the war in this harsh climate also. And then is my other grandmother on the other side, who is more artistic, you know. She also, in terms of hands, there was more the playing the piano and a lot of the sewing. I mean, both of them did the sewing, the knitting, and the handwork. And I was thinking also how women and grandmother are also the contributor and the bringers of traditions and cultures and artisan art. So we all have national costumes in Norway. It's quite common to wear, particularly certain occasions, and many of them are handmade or you get them, but grandmothers are also making sure you get one. So on your birthday you start collecting the silver, because it's big brooches or belts and silver embroideries. So you start collecting it, and the grandmothers are very on the forefront and making sure that you get all this stuff.
You have it, yeah.
And learning about it and what it means and what's different from your region versus another region, and appreciating also the work that goes into the artisan type work, because sometimes now we might lose it unless we take care of that part too, that we know to make something takes time, and it's also a good thing. It's something you're using your hands, the smells, the conversations going on. And she also, my maternal grandmother, she had this more artistic. She had also indigenous through her grandmother again, and she had this sort of dancing music part in her veins, I will say. So she had that part that I think also was very important part too, that I received from her. And she was always very into making it always beautiful everywhere. So when we brought people together, and she did, there was also like how to set the table and make sure we had flowers and make sure all these things. It was the feminine, that other part of the feminine, you know, that the beauty, the flowers, being gracious, move in a certain way, sit straight, walk nice, you know, all of those things she brought, which is also part of the beautiful things. And these conversations also with my aunts and being together and learning about all these things is something I thought was so valuable. And when I think about it now, I feel I'm such a mix of them. Like, I know how to work and economize and make a lot out of little. And I feel I'm also appreciating very much the part of making things beautiful and making things in a gracious way. Like they're both so present. And this intuitive side that they both had, being so near nature, and it's also something I was thinking, oh yeah, they knew and I didn't know before, I only know now. and then I thought also about, I remember when my own mother became a grandmother with my son, how suddenly that was also so healing suddenly, because I realized, oh God, she knows so much, I appreciate her so much. It was like something clicked in me that I hadn't seen her, I hadn't even seen my own mother
before. That's true.
The value of that part, the part of more caring and the traditions, and suddenly all those values I want to bring on to the next generation became present for me then. So that's something I think is very important, and made me reflect also this, how important it is with traditions. Like sometimes we live in this global world, we can get access to everything everywhere, and still these traditions are important. It sort of anchors us. And And I think it's something about having, it's almost ritualistic traditions of how you do, the big, maybe it's Christmas or whatever religion you belong to, but it's like how you do those things and how you set the table, what food you eat.
Yeah.
And the grandmother is very strong in bringing that forward. And I think often about them and what you did at what time, and maybe things when you grew up, oh God, why do we have to do this at 5? But then suddenly you realize, oh, there was a meaning to that. There's a reason. And also all this, the things you do at certain times during the year of seasonal and traditional things, and how I just appreciate it more and more over the years and give it value more and more. So yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. I love how you have the memories and really what you define. Like today, I'm a part of each other, like both of the grandmas.
Yeah.
One is the discipline and the sustainability and the connection to the land, and the other one, the beauty and having everything ready and the flowers. And you can tell everything you do out there is that, like it reflects in your work and in the way you talk and in that feminine way, but at the same time you're this leader that really discipline and get things done. So that is so amazing. That is so beautiful how you connect.
And all of them had actually, the one had 4 children, the other had 8 children, and then they brought a lot of people together. And I thought also, when you have many different children, one got a PhD, but another didn't, and another maybe had a handicap, and you learned also how to include everybody when you're part of this big family, or the type of grandmothers I had. At least they were very inclusive, and also very open. And on the coast, like people travel too, the Viking spirit of going places, and people can visit and I learned to be open to all of that through them. So that's a great gift. So I feel very, very grateful for my grandmothers and what learned me. And again, I was thinking also the other day, without thinking about grandmothers, I was thinking, oh God, I think I need to bake something or make a sculpture or something, because we're on email all the time, or not on email, but on the screen all the time. And then I thought about this thing with hands, which came as an image today too, whether it was the piano on the soil. It is something, and I think the hand, we know that's connected to our heart. And I think this is something that is precious, and maybe we need to reconnect also to that.
I love that. And you remind me of when I usually do the interviews with especially women. I've done it with men as well, and I ask them what is that sensorial memory, or what is that symbol that you have that you connect your grandma with, and you're saying about the hands and the heart, and that's so amazing, like how you bring it in, because that's what happened when you started connecting to those memories. You start having those things that really had your attention, even if it's the hands, or it was the baking, or is a smell, or there is something. Right?
A lot of the smells from the kitchen, and then my grandmother, who had the farm, I remember all those smells from the apples and from the rain on the berries and all of those things as well. And then the other grandmother, who was also into, like, okay, I danced, we danced, and she had this, I knew she had this passion, and that it goes through the veins from that ancestral side. And my dad has that, and a lot of this. So I was thinking, oh yeah, that part also, this part of passion, this part of that there is something in that which I remember from her.
Oh yeah, and music is also so important. Sounds. We had Margery Bray. I don't know if you had the opportunity to listen to her, but like how important is that music and the traditions. And I'm seeing here in the comments, like Deborah Myers, The Gathering, and that's The Gathering is something you were saying, that sometimes we were child or teenagers, we didn't value that. Why we have to go to grandma's house sometimes? But
exactly.
Now we understand the importance of that, and with all that is happening with COVID and everything, we really miss that, and how it's important for our children to grow having that connection to the traditions, to the food, to the family, to love.
Yeah, it's the
needed.
love, and sometimes I think also they're so important because sometimes as a teenager particularly you can get very easily in opposition to my own mother, but the grandmother was different. I can listen to her, or to them. so this is very important. But I think there is something of this resilience, the graciousness, the culture, appreciation of artisan work and culture that sort of coming through the veins of inheritance.
And you know what? When you were talking and in other conversations I had, grandmas, they had time, and nobody has time now. So they have time to do the art, to be with you, to prepare something delicious, or to be with the family, time for those special things that sometimes we don't have anymore. We're losing that. Just a crazy world, work, and technology, and everybody connected to phones, and
and that's so very, very precious, So I hope to, but it's deep, this thing with being a grandmother too, it's like I hope I will have time too.
For sure, we have to create a space, and that's part of the feminine. I learned that from Kristin Arylo, and she's gonna be here with us too. So this has been so lovely, and I'm so happy that you're gonna be still with us, because Kristin is gonna be with us here in the panel that we're gonna be discussing a little bit more about these grandmothers. So I guess I want to thank you for your intervention at this amazing wisdom talk that we're having. And I guess we give a space now to Nilima. She's going to share us a little bit about her story, and then we go back to the panel. See you soon.
I'll share more soon.
Okay, thank you. Good. This is amazing. So many, Cheryl, inclusive. You love that. Thank you, Cheryl, for being here. This is so good, Rebecca. Could always hear grandmother when you couldn't hear your mother. It is true. Nilima, are you here? Oh my God. This is amazing to have you here. You are one of the ones, inspiration of all this, and I guess the grandmother of all this, I can say. I love to have you here. This is like so delightful.
So happy, Monica. And as you know, I'm in India, and it's past 9:30 p.m. here. And in keeping with what this whole grandma archetype is about, I'm in my kaftan, and I'm in this very relaxed place. I have chosen not to put on my formal attire, and I'm going to invoke the grandma archetype, which is all about ease and comfort and just not having to conform.
Right. That's what I love, and that's what we have been trying to do with this. Let's play with this. Let's feel like grandma's house, like we were saying at the beginning. So, it's an honor to me to have you here today. And introducing you is difficult, but it's like Nilima is this amazing woman, and she's been in the corporate world. She's been healing, especially her husband through cancer, and she's doing great. And speaker, author of the amazing book Shakti Leadership and Cancer is Me, and also the founder of the Shakti Fellowship, which I was part of, and Margery and so many that are here with us today, and all the amazing work that she is doing. Also, the Truth and Reconciliation, right, movement that you have. So many amazing things. And I also want to ask you the same question: how, and especially for you, as it goes deeper, how the ancestral and feminine wisdom, because I know you didn't have so much connection to your grandmas. So for you and you have a grandmother that was your inspiration, the mother, that the way you call it, how all this ancient feminine wisdom inspire your work, and the leader, the amazing woman you are, and what you do today. Just share with us a little bit.
Thank you, Monica. And as you were sharing, that it's so interesting. I was born at a time when both my grandmothers had passed.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother's mother passed even before my mom got married. Same with my dad. In fact, my dad's mom passed when he was barely 8 years old.
Wow.
It's interesting that here we are as part of the Shakti Fellowship, one of the most beautiful projects that has come out of it, out of the 51 Shakti Fellows from 13 countries around the world, is your project, Monica. And I would say today is perhaps the most public launch of the Shakti project, and the fact that the one that we are launching with publicly is yours, the Grandma's project, and Mario Lines. And it's so right. It's so right. This was the project that should have been debuted in the world first, right? So that's how we want the world to know the Shakti Fellowship and the Shakti work, by beginning with the root and the source. That's the grandmothers, right? From where we have come. I'm just beyond delighted and grateful and basking in this lovely energy. And as you shared, I've written the book Shakti Leadership: Embracing Feminine and Masculine Power in Business. And before that, I wrote the book My Cancer is Me: The Journey from Illness to Wholeness. And my entire work is based on the inspiration of the mother, who was the spiritual partner of Sri Aurobindo. She was called Mira Alfasa. And she's very grandmotherly. In fact, I'm looking at her picture right here above my desk. And one of her prayers that she offers all of us is, before beginning anything that you know is important, just send up a prayer to say, grant that I may do as best as I can the best thing to do. So that was my prayer today, saying I didn't have grandmas, but what I can speak about is the grandma archetype, the grandmother archetype, right? Which is an archetype in our collective unconscious. And to the extent we are going to be able to now raise it, we can bring it into the collective conscious. Because we need to bring it into the collective consciousness if we are to save our planet and our species, right? That is how important this work is, Monica. And I'm so grateful that your aircraft went into a storm, because that was the only way your grandmother could have scrambled. I think that's the only way your grandmothers could have scrambled the signals enough to get your attention.
I think so.
And we came in stereophone from both sides, Rosita and Pepa. No, listen, Monica, listen. And so guess what? You know how I talk about living the mythopoetic life? That, why would you go through life thinking this three-dimensional reality is all that there is? There is always, yes, that is the logos, the logical side. But remember, it's incomplete without mythos, which is this whole magical, symbolic side. And that reality coexists. So I'm going to use the few minutes I have to only just focus on the twin aspect of the grandmother archetype. That to really come into our fullness with this archetype in order to be of service to the world, we need to raise up both aspects of the grandmother archetype. And therefore, they're called the twins, the two who are one. And, one side that we all may be celebrating is this beautiful, touchy-feely, huggy, oh, this is my lovely grandma. She smells of roses and she's got paisley print on her, wallpaper and so on. And she makes the most amazing biryani and, grandma's house. I mean, we were all just wanting to breathe and return to that beautiful haven, refuge that represents grandma's house. And we're thinking of even calling our online space that, that you're going to create, calling it grandma's house, with a rocking chair section and a kitchen section and a herb garden and so on, right? And yes, that is very much the grandmother who has lived out in this, patriarchal social structure and cultural norms. And she has chosen her feminine, and she has chosen to be a steward of the feminine and to express it in this most gentle, beautiful, nurturing, inclusive way at a time where the rest of the world is full of conflict and violence and needs a haven to come to, right? So she is that beautiful archetype, but she has a twin. And we can't be whole. We can't be whole until we also acknowledge the twin and raise up that other aspect too. The twin is Baba Yaga, right? The twin is this witch, this angry old crone woman who you don't want to run into in a dark alley because she may just spit at you or curse you or something. And the crone, the bag lady, the woman who has stopped producing her eggs and having a menstrual cycle. So in a way, she has no further value in the patriarchy, because the value of the woman and the feminine in the patriarchy is, as long as you're childbearing, as long as you can provide sexual care, as long as you can, be productive and active, and, so when a woman becomes a crone, she kind of loses value. And that's why all of us going around still coloring our hair and making sure it's still looking nice and dark. And I've stopped doing that. And I'm just kind of rebelling against this thing, saying I'm just going to own my grays joyfully here, right? So this aspect of the grandmother that is in a way on the fringe of society, because she is no longer of value. I've heard my friends, one of our own Shakti sisters, talk about this. She says she's in her 60s, and she says, I can already see that I'm becoming invisible in the workplace.
Yes.
I'm not there. They don't see me. I'm standing right there. They don't see me, right? Because you no longer have value to this kind of value system. You're not valued in this value system. Now, this archetype of the crone, the bag lady, the one who lives on the outskirts, she's kind of the outcast of society. What's beautiful is she carries very strong medicine, because she's no longer having to conform. She is free to be who she essentially is, which is nature. She can return to her original nature, which is the archetypal feminine, right? Which is Mother Earth.
Yes.
Which is that which just knows how to grow and bloom and winter and die and decay and then resurrect and come back again, and also be very fierce and bring on all those crazy storms, and not be conformed in this be nice, look nice kind of space. So there is tremendous medicine in this other aspect. So I was reading Clarissa Pinkola Estes talk about in her book Women Who Run with the Wolves that the symbol of twins in all cultures are very sacred, because they are pointing us towards that reality, that everything that is true needs to be accepted in both its powers. And just after I read that, we went for a walk on for the sunset on the beach today, and these two little girls, twins, dressed up identically by their mom, were running one after the other and so joyfully playing in the sunset on the beach. And I was loving the synchronicity, right? That here is the feminine being revealed to me as her eternal, joyful girl. Like, no matter how old she gets, she will be this eternal girl child of the Divine Mother, right? So remembering the twins. So I want to talk about, we have on one hand Baba Yaga, and then we have women who have become grandmothers but not necessarily made the journey to waking up, growing up, and showing up. So they haven't psychologically matured, and they are like puella eternas. They are little girls inside old women's bodies. And while they are beautiful and wonderful, it would be even more beautiful for them if life can take them into that psychological maturity and then bring them out on the other side, where they can co-hold these twins in them, their wise woman self and their eternal girl self. They can hold them both together, right? Then you have that wonderful fullness. We know our grandmothers as their recipes, and that's that beautiful, softer, gentler side. But we also know grandmothers for their remedies, right? That is that alchemical earth energy that knows how to transform and heal. So you have recipes and you have remedies. And we talk about how when a woman stops laying eggs, so, I mean, producing eggs, so to speak, from her ovaries, then what happens to her? And I love the way Sukhvinder Sarkar, who's a great wise woman teacher, she says, then you become the egg, right? You become the whole, you become that egg or the womb space in which now you can co-hold everything, and you can allow everything, you can nurture everything. And there is no difference between the so-called good and bad and light and dark. You can hold the whole in this loving, nurturing way. You become the egg. How powerful is that? It's like a return to her primordial nature, right? So I think that's really where I want to stop, saying, let's remember the twin nature of the grandmother. And let's remember that both sides carry deep healing medicine for us, not just her nurturing side, but also her fierce side. Because that fierce side reminds every little girl that she's not done yet. She needs to wake up, grow up, and show up as a whole woman.
I love it. You always have this wisdom, and oh my God. You remind me, and of course I had to bring the mythopoetic because you teach us that. And actually with Christina Arylo, that she's going to be here also these days, I had this dream. And the same day, through this project and everything I've been doing, I have been meeting that feminine side that is sweet, that is my grandma's, that is this, but suddenly all these other wild, aggressive things have been showing up. The twin is showing up. And in the same day, I was working here at home, working from home, and I saw a black snake, and minutes after, there was a hawk hunting for a dove, and in this aggressive way, but a beautiful nature way. And that night, I had a dream of a little girl, beautiful little girl, like with her curly, it was me, but it wasn't myself. Her hair was burning in fire. So is the little girl with that fire coming out, it's not just the little girl that is just sweet, but where is the fire? Where is the wild? And so, yeah. And that's that's part of this journey that I'm just, oh my God, discovering, and always you bring that wisdom. So thank you, Nilima. Thank you for your words of wisdom and this amazing talk.
Welcome, Monica. What I'd love to end with is just to, since everyone's bringing chanting and music, and let me bring from my yogic tradition, from the Dasha Mahavidyas, who are the great cosmic mother goddesses. And in a way, they are the great mothers. They are the grandmothers, right? So there's 2 of the 10 who are very live for me today. When Margery was chanting, we have this goddess called Matangi, who is like the tantric Saraswati, and when she speaks and when she chants, the word is like the word was with God. So it's the voice and the sound that's coming from the goddess source itself. and therefore has the power of like a mantra to heal and alchemize, right? So that is one chant I will chant to invoke Matangi. And the other is the crone goddess Dhumavati. She is the opposite of Lakshmi, who is all abundance and fertility and beauty and all this beautiful stuff. But then Lakshmi, Dhumavati, is her alter ego, so to speak, and she is the great void, and she is the crone, and she is that mystery portal that nobody wants, but once you accept it, she becomes the portal through which you break through into non-duality, and you're able to let go likes and dislikes, and you're able to then break through to this incredible beauty and the unity of it all, and in a way become that non-dual egg, right? So I'll end by chanting to both of them. Om Aim Matanginyai Namo Namaha. Om Aim Matanginyai Namo Namaha. Om Aim Matanginyai Namo Namaha. Om Dhum Dhumavatyai Namo Namaha. Om Dhum Dhumavatyai Namo Namaha. Om Dhum Dhumavatyai Namo Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bless this wonderful Grandma's March, Divine Mothers.
Thank you for that gift, Nilima. Thank you. Okay, so now I guess we're going to our panel discussion.
And we are perfectly on time. How
cool. Know, like this is flowing perfectly. So this is amazing. Thank you for your wisdom and for your words. And yeah, let's go back to Margery. I call her so we can open the beautiful panel discussion. I will be back soon with you, Nilima. We introduce everybody.
I'll leave the studio.
No, please.
Yeah, you can stay, play with us. No, because we're having the panel discussion, right, Marge?
Yes, I love to have you in the panel discussion.
Great.
Wow.
So it's with you, Marge. I need you now. I've been talking too much.
So I also call the other guests. I call Kristin if she wants to come back, and Christina and Raj. I hope you're waiting somewhere in the backstages. Wow, this was really beautiful. Thank you, Nilima, and thank you, Kristin, and thank you, Irena.
I know, it was amazing.
She is now somewhere in Croatia under the rain, inviting the guests.
Okay.
Hey, Kristin, this was also beautiful, your sharing on your grandmothers.
Yeah.
I recognized a little bit the twins that Nilima described. The one a little bit more fierce and strict, and the other a little bit more on the elegance and the music, and yes, and the beauty in life. So now what we are trying to start here in this panel, because we had such beautiful stories, we had beautiful music. Hello, Raj, welcome.
Welcome, Raj.
Christine. Yeah, so beautiful. So we already had all these beautiful stories and singing and sharing, and it's all came from the space of comfort and not comforting to the rules or whatever is expected. So I really love this space, this place where we are coming from. And what we would like to do in this panel, it's not even a discussion, but what we like to create with each other is the sharing on how can we weave all this wisdom together to honor the world of today and of the future. So I would like to really have some weaving of wisdom. But not after that we have introduced our new guests. So Raj, I would like to welcome you.
Thank you. I'm just fixing my background here a little bit.
Okay.
As I had a green screen for Zoom, but
Okay.
see. Okay, so that's a little better. I'm natural, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see you good. Welcome, Raj. Thank you
Hi,
for being here.
all the old friends are here. Kristin is here.
Yes. Well, welcome to Grandmother's March. And I think it would be great if you and Kristin later could share a little bit on your own introduction, what your work is, and how it is inspired by your grandmothers or ancestors.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be happy to try. I'm here to learn more than anything else.
So maybe we can introduce him first, Marge.
Yes, I can introduce Raj. He's really the start of conscious capitalism, and looking for how to bring love and caring and healing into the business. So this is really the man on the mission, trying to establish this. So Raj, can you share a little bit on your grandmas or your grandmother?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that. The irony is that I did not actually know either of my grandmothers. My mother's mother died when she was about 5, when my mother was 5 or 6, I think. So, of course, I knew my step-grandmother, my mother's stepmother, who was very loving, and I had a wonderful relationship with her. On my father's side, I didn't know my grandmother at all. I have no memories of her whatsoever. And so in that sense is limited. I think the primary influence for me, my mother's stepmother, of course, and my mother herself, I think, was the biggest source to me of that feminine love and energy, which has become a big part of my story then, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to elaborate on that now or later or whenever.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, you can elaborate, but I would like to introduce Kristin also, because she's new here also on the panel. Kristin Arylo, your name has been mentioned already sometimes. I think you have been working with Monica. You are an expert on feminine leadership and a coach. Maybe we can introduce you. Do you have this beautiful picture? Yes, this is
Rudy can help us here. He's in the backstage. So
yes, we have this.
Oh yeah, Kristin, I can introduce her also, and what I know about her, amazing woman, author, speaker. She's a coach, and many years, more than 20 years in corporate world, and then more than 20 years also in touch with all this feminine wisdom, indigenous wisdom, and bringing it into the world, and through all her programs of path of self-love and feminine wisdom, and recently launching her book, The Overwhelm and Overage. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Kristin, today.
It's good to be here. It's early in the Pacific Northwest, but I have my cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. My hair might be still a little bit wet, so I thought we were an hour later,
That's
but
good.
my feminine wisdom said, check the email again. And so I'm like, oh, we're starting at 8:30.
Yeah.
Feminine wisdom. She's very practical.
It is true. And we were playing earlier, and you were not here, but it's like today the idea is to feel like grandma's house, to be very relaxed and informal. So that's the idea, just to have a chat and conversation here between us, and I'm so glad that Raj is here. Thank you, Raj, for being so flexible. It's like I wrote to Raj yesterday on Friday. I say, we need a masculine energy here, so many women, and we need Raj, and he was so flexible in such a short notice. You were like, yes, I'm doing it, I'm going to be there, I have something else, but I will join. So thank you for that.
No, it's my pleasure. I don't want to miss the opportunity to hang out with Nilima and Kristin, and then meet more new people as well. And the timing worked out perfectly. I just ended my other thing, which Nilima has been part of. I do a book reading every Sunday from my new book, a chapter of the new book. as I'm writing them. So we just ended that.
Mm.
And, yeah, so I'm thinking about all these things and how they played into my life as part of. I'm writing kind of a memoir, so it's all fresh in my mind.
Mm. So yeah, you share a little bit, Raj. What about Kristin? Any memories that you have from either grandmothers, or what has the feminine wisdom or the ancestral wisdom has played for you, like in your work?
Well, it's interesting because my actual biological grandmother, I think, was a little bit of a rebel for her time, and so I'm going to answer this question maybe a little bit different than the traditional answer. I think for me, when I tap into grandmother love or mother love or the ancestor of that energy, for me, it's actually came to me in my 30s. Not through a biological line, but through, I would call it more like a soul line. And so two of my primary teachers, who I refer to as my spiritual mentors and my spiritual mothers, one in the divine feminine, kind of, sometimes I joke she's like the Yoda of the feminine, but she's not green. She's very, very beautiful. Her name is Arylo Spilsbury. And my other mother, mentor, grandmother, Pele Rouge, who's my indigenous earth wisdom teacher. And they both found me at about the same time, and they don't know each other, and they're probably both in their early 80s. And they're just so full of grace and so full of love. And I really am so grateful that I received both the love from them and both the wisdom from them. And what's interesting to me is that they don't know each other, but they both had one primary lesson for me, which I think I got. Well, Pele said I'm closer than I've ever been, which is slow down. Slow down. And that is both same wisdom. So I'm still practicing. I'm closer, Pele said recently, than I've ever been. And I think that's that's what I'd start with.
Yeah, so how beautiful. Now we have all this, we are really circling around the world now, also in the timelines. This is,
I know.
This is great that we have collected all you here together.
Yeah. It is true. We have almost like the 4 directions here, right? Yeah. Well, I can represent South America, so yeah, even if I'm in Florida, almost there, but yes. So we have, Asia and the US and Europe and Norway, and so wow, all the amazing speakers that we have here today. And I guess we can put some other questions out there, and I think maybe for all who feel to answer and weave on this, and maybe how do you think we can recreate and redesign the new world based on this feminine wisdom and the ancestral wisdom? Anybody wants to weave on that?
I could go. I love beginning with archetypes, right? Saying let's find the animating power principle that can fuel our initiative and ideas. So when I was looking at all the goddess archetypes that would best suit this movement of bringing grandmother energy to the world, I was the healthiest, most wholesome version. One of them would be Hestia. Hestia is the Greek goddess of the hearth, and she is essentially the fire of the home. She's in a way that which she's something like the Shekinah in Judaism. So when a woman gets married, her mother will take the fire from her home with a torch and go across to the daughters and then light the fire there. And that is how Hestia is worshipped. So Hestia is always a circle in the center of the home where the fire is. And it's that feminine, animating, loving, nurturing warmth. In a way, it's like the oven in which all the buns get baked. So it's that beautiful, warm gestational energy where when we said you have to become the egg, when you want to invoke this whole grandmother archetype, that Hestia energy, if we can find a way to bring to our work and to our lives at home and at work, that warmth of Hestia, you know, that soul feeling inside ourselves and inside our workplaces, we know it by the warmth we feel in the room. And if we can pay attention to it, and if we can be stewards of it, be the fire keepers of it, so that would be my contribution.
That was beautiful. Hestia, yes, yeah, I love that, and so much fire into that earth. I love it. Who feels like weaving? Kristin?
Yeah, what's interesting because from Hestia we can also take inspiration from the Norse goddess of spring. So spring was the goddess of all gods in the Norse mythology. And she also, everybody wanted to come to her house because, again, it was this cozy feeling to be there. And she was also hardworking, and she deserved this nice house, and everybody came there. And then there was this interesting sort of thing that I think we can get from understanding our lineage and our long-term thinking. And something that Frigg also had. She sort of knew the destiny of everybody, and still she was not talking about that. You know, she was very humble and still asserting herself when needed. And I think there's something about that in this world today too, when we are near nature, when we understand our long-term thinking and the lineage, we also become more humble in front of things. And somehow that is also a quality that I think is so needed now. And I was thinking about this thing of long-term thinking, because one of the problems we have is all this short-term thinking, and all the things about sustainability is not even new. We have had it in the past. I mean, the way that you run farming in the past was done based on good things. So I think that bringing the grandmothers, or bringing our lineage of the past and learning for somehow history, and from this sort of grandmother way that is through love, not just war history, we can really save the world in some ways. And in order to make this happen, we do need to give it value. And this is also something Nilima talked about, how many feel that they're suddenly unseen, they're not there anymore. And that has also something to do with each and every one of us, to always remember to bring forth the grandmothers or the wisdom and the elders, so we remember that in each other constantly, because this is a huge issue of how only youth and only short-term thinking is what's become valuable. So that's all I have to say right now.
Yeah, I think that,
Go ahead.
yeah. And I think it's beautiful what you're saying, Kristin. It's also to make sure that the grandmother's energy is visible. So the whole reason that I have embarked on my own project on how to become this modern age crone is because, you know, I was lacking an idea of how does it look like in today's time, because I also have this feeling of when you become older, you become invisible. So how to stay visible? And what I learned from the sharings earlier this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're watching, is it's not only from really the grandmas themselves, it's also the energy that's universal. It's in the earth, it's in Mother Earth, and it's in the universe. So it's also tapping on the energy and bringing it forward in our actions, and bringing it to the office, bringing it to our work, bringing it to our daily lives. So it's also the honoring of the grandmother's energy, not even literally the grandmothers themselves, but it's the energy honoring. So this is what I already took from all the sharing. So this is my personal wisdom, which I will be continuing to do.
For me, I feel a real desire to enable the processing of our collective intergenerational grief. Because if we cannot process that, earth it and ground it, it sticks in our systems and makes it impossible to think clearly, to love deeply, to honor ourselves, our land, and our landscape. And so for me, the task for women is part of the task is to honor that role in ourselves and enable grief to be processed in a way that enables our evolution and enables us to honor ourselves, our lives, our other humans, and our landscape, because at the moment we're not able to do that in a way that sustains.
Well, I think that word of sustain, sustainable, value, and I really believe we can't have social systemic change without personal transformation. Like, it has to be rooted in the person.
Yeah.
And I'm going right back to the same lesson that Arylo and Pele gave me over and over and over again of slow down. And it wasn't that I didn't want to slow down. Of course, we all want space. We all want to rest. We all want to, thrive. But there's these deep imprints in us that are addicted to speed and are addicted to doing and are taught that, like, we have to work hard. And they're in there. They're in our psyche. And it's like we don't go in there and actually restructure our own value system. And we don't learn to trust that slowing down. We can't create a society based in wholeness. We don't even create our own wholeness. So I think it's a daring, courageous act to have to go in here. We've had so many conversations for so many years about the world stressed out. We're so busy. And part of it is because we're not willing to go in here. And, it's scary in here. Like, I had to really look at, why am I always striving? Why am I always pushing? Why am I trying to get ahead of myself? And then that shows up in the culture. And when I first learned about the feminine 15 years ago, it took me about a decade to actually trust her and to trust that within myself, that I could actually achieve my goals and make an impact and survive and thrive. And it's still a practice. It's a practice every day. So I think that's part of it, of being able to give language to it, like, what is the feminine, and then seeing it within us, and then having the courage to do things differently in our own lives, in our own businesses, in our own families.
And Kristin, that's when I think about corporate world and how the system and all the patriarchy and is founded, is so much needed for us all leaders to connect to that heart and listen to ourselves and really give that space and slow down. And Raj, that reminds me a lot of the book that you launched about the healing organizations, I guess the name, if I'm not wrong, but I would love you to add about that, because I know you have that feminine side, and that's why energy that you want to bring into the system and help organizations and the world create the new.
Yeah, I was just thinking about my journey. It's been a complicated one, and some of the questions that you're asking are getting me to reframe it. I grew up in India. I grew up outside of India until I was in India until I was 7, and then outside until I was 12, and then back in India as a teenager. So I had some formative years, essentially a single mom who brought me up while my father was away for those first 7 years, and in a very harsh patriarchal environment. So I kind of had to triangulate all these things, because I didn't get a lot of positive role models of masculinity or of femininity, of empowered femininity. My mother was pure love, unconditional love and service, but not empowered in any way, right? And she was in many ways victimized in that whole situation. And my grandfather and my father and all of them embodied the toxic masculine. So I've had to, as I said, kind of figure out, what it really means. So my mother's mother was, I would say, an empowered feminine figure. And she was handpicked by my mother's real mother. So when she was dying of tuberculosis, and my mother was about 5 or 6, and she knew that she had limited time. So first thing she did was she cut herself out of all of the family pictures. She said, I don't want you girls to be crying about me your whole life. So she's trying to erase herself from their memory. So she literally took the entire collection of photographs and cut herself out and burned them. those pictures. But then she hand selected the woman who would marry her husband next, so that she would look after her daughters well. So she was a very warm and strong woman, the one who became my grandmother. My father's side, from what I know of my grandmother, I mean, she was completely disempowered. My grandfather used to beat her, literally. She had no voice, she had no presence, right? So that whole side of my family comes with extreme toxic masculinity, and that then bled down into many of the women became agents of the patriarchy. So my aunts were, embodied sort of that toxic femininity in a way, right? Abusing my mother, right, and sort of representing that energy in that way. I also grew up at a time when we had a woman prime minister in India, Indira Gandhi, who did not embody the feminine at all. In fact, she was known as the only man in her cabinet. And she was actually the only woman in the government, right? But she was tougher than the toughest man. So it was a very, and my grandfather would routinely refer to the prime minister. When her name came up in the news, he would refer to her as that Rand. Rand literally means whore, right? So, I mean, he's referring to the prime minister of the country that way. So that was an extreme toxic environment, as I said, that I experienced from an abundance, excess of that kind of masculine energy. So I had this extreme opposite poles. My father's side represented all that harshness, all striving and no love. It was all about work, all about money, all about achievement, but no love whatsoever. And my mother's side was all about love and no striving, no achieving. So both these households fell apart because each of them embodied only half, right? Striving with no love, love with no striving. And so my challenge has been to say, how can I try to pick out the value of striving and work, and also while remaining rooted in love. And I think that's been part of my journey and connecting with women like Nilima and others. I have very strong, I would say, sister figures in that sense. Lynn Twist, Nilima, my coach, the person I'm in a relationship with now, not a sister figure, but I'm just saying strong women figures, who embody that. Because my mother, as I said, embodied the love and the gentleness and all of that, but she was not in her personal power. And I think what the need of the world is to empower the feminine, right? Because had my mother been in her personal power, she would not have enabled my father to do all the things that he did, right? Cut me off for 5 years and really destroy many aspects of our family over time. So I think with all of that as backdrop, I mean, around 2011, I think we had started the conscious capitalism movement in 2008, and I had written the book Forms of Endearment in 7, where I talked about love and compassion. I didn't explicitly link it to feminine at the time, but these were businesses that were rooted in that energy. And around 11, I started to say, yeah, there's a lot more feminine energy in conscious businesses and in conscious leaders, whether they are men or women. And I think that was the conference Nilima came to as well and spoke at in Boston. And so eventually we went on that journey, and I learned a lot from her, writing Shakti Leadership, about the feminine energy, about the wisdom from ancient mythology and various traditions. And so I've continued that. And then my coach, the year I turned 60, where I went on a trip to the Himalayas with Nilima and the Shakti group, I went with Lynn Twist to Ecuador and the rainforest with the Pachamama Alliance. And that really is about connecting to grandmother energy, the Pachamama, the Mother Earth, right? And connecting back to nature, and part of that having an ayahuasca experience. And ayahuasca is actually supposed to represent that grandmother energy, the mother energy, right? Of being back in the womb, in mother's lap, in a way. And I had a profound experience. And the message that I got, and I was writing the healing book at the time, and the message I got was what the world needs to heal are these 4 things: love, innocence, simplicity, and truth. And it came as an acronym LIST, L-I-S-T, right? This is the list. And to me, that was that healing, mother energy embodied in those words. It's love, it's innocence. It's a kind of innocence. My mother was innocent until the day she died. She had that purity to her, she retained that. It did not get corrupted. So it's the essence and the innocence somehow that we need to get back to in order to create the world we need, because we're out here killing each other and destroying each other, and we're killing our own Mother Earth. Right? We're committing matricide collectively as humanity, and we're staring literally at the end of civilization in our children's lifetimes, potentially, if we continue doing that. So the stakes could not be higher. And I learned as part of writing that book about the Iroquois Confederacy, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, in the northeast part of the United States, where they finally united these 7 tribes which had been warring with each other for centuries. And they came together under a peacemaker named Hiawatha to say, why do you keep fighting with each other, right? And they created a whole structure for the Confederacy, which was rooted in grandmother energy. The leader was selected by a council of grandmothers. And they had the power to dismiss the leader if he became too warlike. So the leader was always a man, the chief of the Confederacy, but always selected by and potentially replaced by a group of women. If he was too warlike, and if he was too short-term thinking, and if he did not include everybody in decision-making. And so that was, I think, the combination of ancestral and feminine wisdom, which could have become part of the founding of the United States. They borrowed the Confederacy model from the Iroquois Confederacy. They borrowed the 3, branches in a way, right? That we have branches of government, the federal structure where there's centralized power and there's decentralized autonomy to each of the tribes. But they refused to borrow that idea. In fact, women did not even have the right to vote for another 150 years in the US. So I think the US has become an example or a case study almost in the world of what happens, the consequences of extremely high domination of masculine energy in a society. So our democracy, as well as the capitalist system, evolved with almost purely masculine energy in them. And hence we have had progress, but also extraordinary amounts of suffering and victimization of others in order to achieve worldly success, money, and power. And I think we're finally, 100 years after women got the right to vote, we're finally waking up from that. And I think, to me, it's the largest. I think Lynn Twist refers to this as Sophia's century. Finally, the century when women wake up, when that feminine wing is untied, so the bird of humanity can actually fly higher and go further. And the last thing that my coach told me that year was that after she heard about my life and my background and my work, she said, "You realize you've been honoring your mother with your work for the last 15 years. That before that, you were trying to impress your father with everything you did, achieving worldly success and, talking about making money and all of that traditional way of thinking in business. But starting in 2005 with that book, Forms of Endearment, and everything that has come since, including Shakti and healing and other things I've done, it's really bringing her energy into the world." And that was a big realization. And she said, "Does your mother know that?" And I said, "Well, I didn't know that. How would she know that?" Right? And she said, "You must call her and tell her that." And I said, "Oh, we don't talk about such things in my family. We talk about the weather and we talk about how are your knees feeling and all that." She said, "No, you have to tell her." I said, "Well, my father always picks up and he always puts it on speaker and he's going to say, why is he talking like that? What's wrong with him?" She said, "No, you have to call her." I said, "I'm going to India in 3 weeks. I'll tell her in person." She said, "No. She's 82. You don't know what happens in 3 weeks." So I did, and it turned out to be the most healing conversation of my life, where I told her, "Mummy, that everything that I've done that people have cared about, that has made a difference, that has touched people, is because of what I saw in you and what I learned from you." And she just started crying, and she said, "I'm nothing." And I said, "No, you're everything. The world has plenty of what Papa offers and whatever, we have too much of that. What the world needs is this, right?" And she always, like many women, she thought of herself as less than, because she was only educated till the 8th grade, and my father had a PhD and a gold medal scientist and all of that. So she always, and she didn't really speak English very well, so she always thought, like, "I'm nothing, I'm nobody. I'm just, lucky to have you as a son," and all. She said those kinds of things. I said, "No, you actually this is what matters most, and you embody that for us, and thank you." So it turned out to be healing for me, of course, but for her also, it gave her a sense of satisfaction that, yeah, maybe my life did amount to something. Maybe my presence will live on, and through some of this impact that I'm trying to bring. And the last thing I'll say is that after she passed away, both my parents passed away in 2019. I did another sort of journey. I tried to connect with her energy after she was gone, and because I didn't get a chance to say properly goodbye to her, because she died 3 months after my father died. And I had my last conversation with my father, but I didn't get a chance to. I wanted to go and talk to her and serve her. She served us all for her whole life. We never got a chance to take care of her and do things for her. She never asked for anything, but then she died suddenly. And so I wanted to have that connection. And I literally had a vision of her where she came out. I mean, she was in her full power. It's like after a Broadway play when the actors come back on stage and they're now themselves. Like she was resplendent in her power, and she was like a goddess sitting there. And she said, yeah, I want you to, keep, bringing this message to the world that we shouldn't cause other pain in other people's hearts. That's the expression she used a lot. Kisi ka dil nahi dukhana, etc. And so it just gave me a renewed sense of understanding that I think what's needed, what I'm trying to do with this book is kind of bring my mother's energy to my father. That to the world of business is all that father energy, and it's really this energy that needs to be brought there and connected to that, because that's what the world really needs, and that's what we're hungry for, and what we're dying of. Right? We're literally dying of that in so many ways. So that went on for a while. So thank you for listening.
Wow. We are just hanging at your lips, listening to this beautiful story and how you brought the energy of your mother into the world and how you were able to talk to her, healing her life, your life, but also now our lives again in sharing the story. And I think we're going to invite you to share more on this story somewhere during this Grandmother's March. I saw somebody asking for it, so we're just opening the possibility for requests and see if we can ask if you can find some more time to share on it somewhere during the month. But I was wondering, now that we are in this Grandmother's March, which literally means the March of the Grandmothers walking around the world, I really see this beautiful picture of that. But it's also March, the month. What would we want to come out of this month, or what would you want to share with the world on the Grandmother's energy this year? It's 2021. It's the 7th of March. Tomorrow it's International Women's Day. It's on this special occasion that we wanted to start this weaving of wisdom. So what do we really want to put into this weaving network? We already heard beautiful ingredients, the grief, the slow down, the lineage, the twin of the fierce and the sweet grandmother. All the senses came by, Monica, what you really shared about your grandmothers, they all came by. We didn't instruct or ask for it, but in all the stories they came by. It's Mother Earth that maybe even it's Grandmother Earth to take care of.
I just realized today is my mother's birthday.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
She would have been 84 today,
What a better day to celebrate her life.
Yeah.
We thought it was March 9th all these days, but I just learned literally last week from my brother that actually her birthday is March 7th. And, then when they got her passport, the 7 looked like a 9, so it became 9, and that's what we thought. So anyway, today is her birthday. Yeah, she would have been 84 today.
Oh, what a blessing.
Wish to your mother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think it's so beautiful, Raj, and I'm connecting to what you said. I request others to mute because I think we get an echo. What is it that we could bring to the world? I think we really need to bring this warmth of the grandmother's energy back to the world of business in a way that clearly impacts positively the connection between business and ecology. Because Grandmother Earth currently is the only game in town, right? The ecology is the only game in town. Everything else is a secondary game. So in a way, if that grandmother energy from the earth can enter the hearts of business leaders making decisions and the cultures of businesses and workspaces, then that becomes the energy that will help save Grandmother Earth herself. So we need to find a way to weave that energy into the workplace so that it weaves back into healing Grandmother Earth. I can't think of any other more important reciprocity.
Yeah, and it's also the weaving that you describe. It's not something separate. It's really the in between weaving in the businesses. It's not easy to detect what it's all about, but it's the warmth that you describe, Nilima. Yeah, thank you.
I want to honor Rebecca Saltman here because her word reciprocity, she's so alive with it. She's so pregnant with it. It's the bun baking in her oven. So this reciprocity energy that the grandmothers represent is really what's going to weave the give and take between human systems, business systems, and ecological systems. And that ability of a grandma to come with a cup of sugar and say, hey, here's something, can I have some milk in return? So that whole sweetness, warmth, and ease with which everyone's so naturally exchanging goodwill and interconnectedness. I think we need to find that stitch back in the system.
I'll pick up that thread and take that kind of into like a practical place for all of us, because I like to take the esoteric and the powerful and bring it into the practical. And what I love about doing this at March is the equinox. So around the 21st is equinox. And you mentioned the word reciprocity, Nilima. I would put the word also add in harmony. So we talk a lot about balance, which is important to be balanced within, but I think what we're really needing to do is create harmony among all the different pieces and parts. And equinox itself is a time for looking at our own lives and actually asking the question of where are the imbalances? Where are the things that are not working? And I'm asking everyone this question. I ask myself this question every equinox: is what's no longer sustainable? What's no longer sustainable in my life and how I've designed my life? What is no longer sustainable in how I'm working or I've designed my business? And what's no longer sustainable in my relationships? And then you don't have to make what's been wrong, because that just creates more blame and shame and judgment and a big, huge waste of chi. It's more like, okay, we're standing here right now. And so if we can look at what's not sustainable, and then you can take it up to the organization, you can take it up to society, you take it up to the planet. And actually, I say, put a line in the stand and say, no more, like no more. So whether that's in our own personal lives, like I'm no longer going to work like this, or I'm no longer going to be in this relationship, I'm going to redesign it. And then I am just really encouraged, I always say, wake up your wise woman eyes, so the grandmothers connect to the archetype of the wise woman. And if you think about the grandmother, she's the matriarch. She doesn't put up with any crap. She's like, oh, you get in line. This is what we're doing. And she takes no qualms, about it, from that fierce love. And so I think there's that part inside of our own hearts to wake up, that, the fierce feminine, that wise woman of like, look around and be like, why do we do it that way? Humans made every system on this planet other than the natural cycles. So we can change it. But first we have to see it. And I think that's been the gift of this last year, of slowing everyone down, of like, open up. If innocence, Raj, is one of the four, which I totally agree with, ignorance is going to be the thing that keeps us from actually rising. And sometimes it's hard to look around your own life or look around and say, yeah, like that's not working anymore. And then to support each other, because the system's going to pressure us to go back into a shape that models after the current value systems. But if we can come together and support each other and actually say, you know what? No, we're not going to go back to working 5 days a week and commuting 2 hours a day, like very simple thing, then that power arises. And then we as humans can figure out something different. that actually creates harmony, but we have to slow down to actually allow ourselves to be guided to find the new path and give it's the year of the ox, you all, right? This year it's like the ox isn't running through the field. It's like slow, slow progress, but like really get in there. So that's what I'm doing in my own life, in my own organization, how I'm working and challenging myself to find a different way always.
For me, it's about the warp and the weft, picking up the threads. You know, the warp, the masculine, the weft, the feminine, and the perfect piece of cloth is when those two are in balance. Then you get something that holds, then you get something that's strong. But when the warp is too tight, which often happens in the masculine, or the weft is too loose, which often happens in the feminine, you get people falling through holes. And when I look at organizational structures, that's what I see.
Another phrase that I think goes in harmony with this is what everybody matters and everybody needs to win. And I think that is a mother energy, that's a grandmother energy. Father energy might be about competition and, you know, one person wins and everybody else loses. How do we create a world in which everybody wins? Everybody matters, first of all, and everybody wins. And I think it's climate change, of course, is the biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge is social inequality in the world, and a kind of caste system that exists in every company, where they're the chosen few, the high potentials, the college educated, the people who get the leadership development, and then there are the 85% of the people actually doing the work, who are disregarded and they have no future. They're low. The model is, can we pay them as little as possible, right? Whereas there are companies like HEB that say, can we pay our people as much as possible? How do we figure out how to do that and create a business model around that? And by the way, they're the most successful company in Texas, and their prices are lower than Walmart's, even though they pay their people exceptionally well, etc. So there's a different mindset. And that company was founded by the grandmother of the current CEO. It's one of the stories in the Healing Organization. So Florence Butt started this company in the early 1900s, and her energy permeates still. So when there's a natural disaster, they show up before the Red Cross and they show up before FEMA, right, to help their community, and they treat their people well. Everybody loves them. Customers love them. Employees love them. So there is a way of being, where this works in the world. It works far better than the traditional model of business, right? The profit-centered, and yet the people in positions of power and the gatekeepers don't see it, or they don't want to see it, and they don't embody that energy. And it's just to me, I think the Pachamama experience of taking, I was a group of 17 people who went on for a 10-day journey and spent 5 days with 2 different native tribes and shamans and all of that. I think that experience really opens people up and connects them to the earth. And once you get connected, then you do become a steward of that. And so I think those kinds of experiences are key. Did I hear that Lynn Twist is part of this conversation? Is that what somebody said?
I guess somebody wants us to call her to be part of the conversation. So we will invite her. Let's see if she maybe during the month of March. So
Yeah. I was thinking this importance of taking a stand at this time also. Sometimes we have taken so much for granted. Mother Earth, nature is there, right? This is here. And this is the same also with this grandmother energy. She's just there. And I remember at a certain point my son said he didn't want to have children. And I went into this incredibly deep crisis. I mean, he's changed his mind, he may have a child, whatever. But when he told me like that in such a strong way, I realized how I had already thought, I was 16 or 17 or something, I was so sure I would be a grandmother. Even that was so sure in me. It was so deep in me that when he said something like that, I couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking about that. Sometimes there are things we take for granted all the time, including Mother Earth and Grandmother, and that we have to actually really, really take a stand for that. All of us do, of course. And it's just a message to everybody else that it may not, if we don't react, little things can disappear. And because it's often, just like Nilima said, it's coming into a room where you feel warm. And it's not tangible. What is it? Yeah, maybe it's the bread in the oven, or maybe it's not. Maybe your grandmother is a sophisticated one that doesn't cook, but it, or some other way. But it is something that is there in the context that is not even spoken about, and that context must be given value. And I've seen organizations too sometimes, oh, you know, so-and-so didn't reach his goal or her goal. But that was the glue, that was the key person who kept the social context alive so that everybody else could produce and reach their goals, you know. And this is, we need to have very awake, someone mentioned the other, Kristin, you might be awake, but we have to be awake to that too. So the more of us who can see the invisible actually, and speak up on its behalf, the better it is, because that is what it is. It's an invisible field, a context in which we're standing, and it hasn't had value. It's been taken for granted.
Yeah, this is what I like also about the Baba of Nilima, that once it is taken for granted and we see it's not seen, then we call Baba and let her become a little bit more fierce and make some rumor and noise about it. How about Monica? About your...
Yeah. I was thinking here, and I wanted to just weave and thinking of my, I guess my role in the corporate world as a feminine leader, and taking all that Rag and Kristin and Nilima and Kristin had said, and Margery, and I have this important role in a masculine world and organization that when you slow down, like you say, Kristin, you're able to bring everybody to presence and to the heart. And in a chaotic moment, for example, last year in COVID, but nobody knew what to do, nobody had the answers, bringing that slowing down and that calm and that stillness, let's say, and I learned that from the water wheel. It gets things flowing, you know, and then there is moments where everybody gets stuck and they don't know what to do. And our role there is to get in motion and know what to do in that moment. So be so in the presence and so connected to the heart and caring about what's happening and listening and not knowing all the answers, just not knowing it, but just showing up and being there. I think that's our role. And either we are women, either we're men, just being connected and present. That's a way that we're gonna slowly change things, you know, and get people more connected to the now, what is happening right now. And I love what you said, Raj, about the innocence, because all this work I've been doing for 2 years, I found that this takes us so much into that innocent child that we have inside of all of us. And listening to Margery as a amazing story that I would love her to share for the couple of minutes that we have left, is that inside of all of us, there is this grandma energy, even if we're not grandmothers biologically. And I guess none of us here, some of you have children, but none of us here are grandpas or grandmas, I believe. But in some way we can be that for others, you know, bring that love and that playful or that, I don't know, that need of a word or of a hug of love or connection or reciprocity of community or bringing the tradition. So I would love for you, Margery, to share a little bit of what you are doing, representing that grandmother, that you are not the grandmother, but you're trying to be a grandmother of these children that you were saying, and how you want to play with that innocence and bringing that love. Just we close this because this is the role of the grandmother. We can all play that role.
Yeah, well, I'm selling my flat in Edinburgh and I live in the north of Scotland. I'm selling my flat here and all my life has been in this flat. And when I bought the flat, I bought it from a woman who had an autistic little boy, and he drew drawings on the bathroom door. And all the doors she changed because he couldn't handle darkness, so she had light panels put in every door. And when the couple came, they have 5 children. God knows how they're going to get them all in here, but that's their problem. They've got 5 kids and they can't visit because it's COVID. Nobody can visit, nobody can come. And so I decided, I told them about this. I don't know how I remember to tell them. I told them about my bathroom door, thinking they were going to say, you know, we want that fixed. And the first thing this couple did when they walked through my door was to say, where are the little boys' paintings? And I showed them the paintings, and that gave me the idea of enabling the transition of these children into their home. These are kids, they're American kids, it's an American family, but their grandparents on both sides are Scottish. And these kids are quite rootless at the moment, because they can't root yet. They've been in rental and God knows what. And this is their first home in Scotland. So I'm going to write them the story of the house, from the house. And I'm going to tell them that amazing things have happened here, which they have. I mean, since I've had this flat, some amazing things have happened here. And I'm going to tell them the story of what the walls have seen. And I'm going to help them to put down roots here and feel that they belong here, because this is their new home. And I want them to feel absolutely welcome and rooted in this land and landscape, even although they're living in a city. So that's my story about these kids. And that, you know, there's a mirror I'm going to leave behind certain things. There's a mirror. And I look in this mirror sometimes and I think it's a very old mirror. It's an antique mirror. And I remember where I got it from. And it's a whole story attached to that. So I'm going to tell them that story. And then I look in that mirror sometimes and I think, how many faces has that mirror seen? How many happenings has that mirror seen through the eyes of the mirror? And I remember once saying, when I used to be in business doing big things and doing lots of work, at the end of every lecture, most lectures, I used to say to them, we've been talking about trauma and really difficult things, and people were and I used to say to them, I want to give you a saying, and it is this: only you can truly appreciate your own true beauty. Others may try, but they so often fall short. Again, only you can fully appreciate your own true beauty. Others may try, but they so often fall short. And I would say to people, can you imagine which great thinker of our time made that statement? And people would think about it, and they would say, oh, they would give me sorts of, and I say, well, actually, it was Miss Piggy in her conversations with Henry Beard. And so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave Miss Piggy beside the mirror, just so the kids get it. And I'm going to tell them that mirror's seen many things. And when they look in the mirror, they're going to see their own true beauty. That's the end of this little story.
Yeah.
And I think that's a grandmotherly thing to do. At least that's what Monica thinks. So that's what I'm doing.
True.
This is so amazing.
I wish I'd done it with my staff when I had a whole lot of them. I would have dreamed up things like that to put on the wall, and I've had the mirror in the front office looking at them, and I would have had everybody connecting with the mirror if I dreamed that one up at that point. But anyway, that's just another story.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you, Margery. This was exactly the missing piece.
That's what we needed. You really, that's what all the women, the leaders of the world, I think we have to be that mirror, so everybody can appreciate their own true beauty. And play around. We have to stop being so boring and so, like, let's feel everybody at grandma's house and play more. And I love what you're doing, Margery, because these kids are going to appreciate that for the rest of their lives. I want to be in that house finding that piano. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, everybody. And yeah, I love this connection, this weaving. This is amazing. I'm feeling so relaxed, and this is being like just flowing, and I hope it will continue. We open a portal, it will not stop. Stories will come, and I will love to have you all, and with Margery together building this has been amazing, and it's not over yet.
No,
We
this
are
was
always in time, I guess. This is amazing how time is just right.
Yes.
And we have been slowing down or rushing everybody, but yeah, it's been great. So
Can I just share? Can I just share?
yes, sure. Any last words
Okay.
of wisdom you want to share?
Well, I can't help but try to come up with acronyms. So when you said about ignorance, so what we need is list, love, innocence, simplicity, truth. What's holding us back? The acronym is SCAM, 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 selfishness, complacency, arrogance, and myopia. Right. So that's what we need to get away from and move towards the list. Okay.
We don't
Let's
need
go
that
away
much.
with it before the equinox.
Yeah, no more scams. Enough scamming on the world.
Thank you all so very, very much for your contributions, for your sharing, for your weaving, for the words, for the acronyms, for the ideas, for the stories, for the Miss Piggies, for the grandmothers. Really, it's really getting going, Monica. It's only the start of it. I'm really excited. So I think I'm going to hand it over to you. Oh, Nilima, you want to share some last words?
Yes, 2 last words.
Yes.
One is I'm channeling Elaine Dinos, saying what the world needs is leadership, but we need lead like a grandma, and therefore let's call it grandmothership.
Yeah.
So what the world needs is grandmothership.
Yay.
Okay. And the story is, of course, the Native American story that grandmother spider's web is torn. And we need to mend the tear in grandmother spider's web. That is the web that holds up life. So grandmother spider is the archetype of that energy that we are seeking to weave in this call. So let's mend the tear in grandmother spider's web.
Let's do it. Let's keep weaving. Kristin, any last words you want to say?
Yeah, or the other Kristin or me, Kristin?
Anybody.
I just thought it was awesome to be here. And there is this Hopi Indian prophecy that when the grandmothers get to be heard, we will go on with our planet and we will flourish. So I think this initiative, Monica, is so amazing. And thank you for doing that and for seeing the importance of it and for bringing all of us together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll just wrap a big bow around going back to the archetype of the wise woman and Miss Piggy. It was so great that you presence this, Margery, because one of the primary teachings that I've seen across all of my wisdom teachings is this sense of play. And the wise woman, one of her totem animals is the Cheshire cat. So, think of the grandmother who says wacky things. You're like, that she's kind of like, it's like the coyote spirit, it's like a little, if we bring that, it just lightens everything up. So more of that for ourselves. And I always think about the Dalai Lama, walking around with toys in his pockets. And a lot of, especially women, I see this, and it's been true for me and myself, this fear of being seen as too playful. And if I'm too playful, then I'm not going to be taken seriously. And that's the part where I want to bring that grandmother energy in and just help break that illusion, because I feel like that joy and that play is actually so powerful. and is going to take that scammy thing, Raj, and it's just going to, you know, whoosh it away, you know, because the play just opens up the heart and it opens up connection. And I think it's this thing we have to like watch out that we're not poo-pooing and wooing things that are playful and yeah, that's, so I'm calling in more pleasure, more joy, more play, and otherwise I quit. So I feel like for all of us, let's,
Me
you know,
too.
I'm gonna like get myself a Miss Piggy. I'm gonna look on Etsy and see if I can find myself a little one to put on my desk here.
I love it. Well, thank you. And Raj, you want to say something? I guess you're mute. No?
No, I'm good. Thank you. It was
Okay.
wonderful to be with all of you. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I love it. And yeah, let's keep moving. And we're now going to invite Linda Galvan to do an ancestral healing circle. And Nilima is going to hold the space. So thank you, Kristin, Nilima, Margery for helping us. Kristin, Raj, and Margery. It was delightful. We had so much fun. Thank you. So help us here, I guess, Turi. We need to get Linda in. Turi's in the backstage helping us.
Amazing.
Oh, I know. He's been amazing. Linda, you're here.
I'm here.
Hi, Linda.
Hello, Nilima, Margery, Monica. Oh my gosh. Rosita, Pepa, y'all are doing amazing work.
Absolutely. The twins. The twins.
I know, they are amazing. I have them here with me. And I was like, okay, you two are going to help here today.
Oh,
Yeah, I listen to you, Linda. So,
this has been absolutely amazing. I've been here since the beginning. And the beautiful energy that has been weaved is incredible. So I know that some of you may not know who I am. And so, Monica, did you want to share anything, or do you want me to share? I don't.
Yes, we're gonna share. Let's share. Turi, help us share the picture, and everybody gets their. Oh, we want to honor everybody that is here. So yeah, Linda, she's a spiritual, intuitive, and transformational facilitator, and she's amazing. She has been working with energies and wisdom and healing for many years. And yeah, I don't want to read everything. I just want to introduce you. And you're this amazing woman, special human being that she's a channel. She works with ancestral healing, beautiful jewelry. I know I had one that our friend Kotan gave me. And yeah, I have the pleasure to meet you. We met before in Austin. So I know you're rooted in Austin. And it's my pleasure to be here with you, Linda, and facilitating this. So share a little bit of you. And whenever you're ready, we're here to start your offering today.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I'm very honored to be here and to be part of this incredible launch. It has become so clear how missing the grandmother wisdom is in our world at this time. And so I'm just so honored to connect with this beautiful ancestral grandmother wisdom that's actually already here, that has been weaved through these several hours that we have been talking and discussing and sharing our beautiful memories of our grandmothers and the wisdom that they have passed on to us. And it was just reminding me, you know, there's a connection with the work that I do as an intuitive, spiritual intuitive. I remember as a child, my grandmother would sometimes babysit me because my mother worked these late shifts. She would work all night long. So I had to be taken care of by someone. So my grandmother would take care of me. And I remember I would sit at her feet at night. She would turn all the lights out and she would leave a candle on, her prayer candle. She had a little prayer altar. And she would sit in her rocking chair. And she had this glow in the dark rosary. She grew up Catholic. And so I would sit there at her feet and I would just watch her in silence as she would just whisper the prayers and move this rosary through her fingers. And it was just the most, I mean, that is like one of the most powerful memories for me of my grandmother, is just being there in this state of watching her in prayer. And so for me, that has always been a very powerful legacy that she left, how important and powerful prayer is. I mean, I knew that as a child, I could feel it. I knew her prayers had power because magic would happen every time she would pray for someone. And so my mother, her mother, instilled that same beautiful legacy of, are you praying? Every time I talk to my mother on the phone, are you praying? Are you praying every day? So they always, to this day, my mother always reminds me to pray. And so it's been a very beautiful journey for me spiritually to get to this place where, you know, my prayer has reached new levels. And so when I say I channel, what really is happening is I'm just tuning into that higher, powerful, spiritual energy that is all around us. And I'm listening. I'm listening very deeply, like I used to listen to my grandmother as she whispered those prayers and that rosary beads moved through her fingers. I would just listen, like, what is she saying? Because she spoke Spanish. So she would say all these different prayers in Spanish. So I would just sit there and just, even though I didn't quite understand what she was saying sometimes, I knew it was very powerful because I could feel it in my heart and I would feel very close to her. So today, I'm so honored to be asked to facilitate a beautiful ancestral healing circle that is going to call in this beautiful wisdom, it's already here actually, of our grandmothers and really honor all of the grandmothers that came before us. So I'm going to begin with just a grounding, getting us present here to really receive, opening our hearts, and knowing that what comes through, whatever is for you, you will receive. So it's for you to open your heart and just receive what is here for you. Receive what is here for you in healing concerning your own grandmother lineage. So as I call in all the grandmothers, know that your grandmother lineage is here and is here to assist you, to send you love and healing in whatever way you may need, whether you're conscious of it or not. So we're going to begin. So I'm just going to walk us through a process of just dropping into our hearts, becoming present, to really open to the divine love that is here for us. I mean, I can just feel grandmother's love here. It's just incredible. So let's just begin by, if this feels comfortable for you, closing your eyes and placing one hand on your heart and placing another hand below your belly button, on your belly. And then begin taking some really long, conscious, deep breaths. Just breathing in the love of grandmother. Just breathing that in. Whether you knew your grandmother or not, there's so much love here present right now. Just breathing in that grandmother love. And as you exhale, just releasing out anything right now that would keep you from being present. And breathing in that grandmother love. Breathing in the beautiful stories, the memories, the takeaways of today. Bringing in that joy, the fun, the play. So breathing all of that in, taking that into your body at this moment. And then exhaling out anything that may not be aligned with this higher joy, this beautiful grandmother wisdom. Just breathing that out for right now, just to be present here now. And in this moment, just say out loud to yourself, I am here now. I am here now. And one more time. I am here now. And just breathing in the truth. You are here now in a body, in a physical body on this earth. And you are here now because of all of the yeses. The yeses of your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-great-great-grandmother, all the way back to the beginning. Imagine all of the yeses that needed to be said for you to be born and be living. Right here, right now. Feel that love. It's almost overwhelming. The love in those yeses. All the yeses it took, whether you knew your grandmother, your great-grandmother or not. She had to say yes for you to be born. So in this moment, be present in your heart and move into gratitude, deep gratitude for all of the yeses that every divine feminine in your lineage had to say in order for you to be born. All the grandmothers, all the struggles, the suffering, the hard work that they gladly said yes to for you to be here now. And feel that love that's just flowing through your whole body, through your DNA, through your cells. All the grandmothers are right here with you. They're in your DNA, they're in the cells of your body. Their wisdom lives on in you. This is a truth. So breathing that in right now, feeling that activate in your whole body. You have not lost that wisdom of all of the grandmothers that came before you. It's in you now. And as part of this beautiful, powerful circle that is in the process of expanding at this moment, I want you to really call in that wisdom personally. Call in that divine wisdom that is here for you. It was never lost. This is the message that I'm hearing from the grandmothers at this time. This wisdom was never lost. It is here. It is in your body. It is coded in your DNA. It is in your heart. But the message I'm hearing to share as part of this beautiful ancestral healing is to remember to listen deeply, to go into those states of quiet meditation and prayer. Call on the wisdom of all the grandmothers that came before you. And then go into silence and listen. They have so much to share with you. As I am here in this beautiful energy, I'm seeing literally tens of thousands of grandmothers in a huge circle around all of us. And Monica, I see you, and I see Rosita and Pepa standing behind you. And they're in such absolute joy that you are bringing this wisdom back into the world, awakening it in us so that we can remember the truth. We haven't lost the wisdom. It is here. It is in us. It's in our hearts. It's in our cells. So I'm going to walk us through a process to be able to really feel, activate, sense, connect with that divine grandmother wisdom. And during the process, because I'm channeling this and all the grandmothers are all here and they're all wanting to be a part of this, they're going to give me some words to share, and I'm going to share with you any visions they show me. And know that in this moment right now, healing is already happening for each of you who are saying yes. Know that the grandmothers are here as those beautiful healers, those beautiful wisdom holders. And they still have healing wisdom for you right here in this moment, even if they may not be in a physical body. So just know that their divine consciousness is here with you. And it is for you to open your heart in receptivity. So let us begin. So if you do remember or have an image of your grandmothers, I want you just to close your eyes if they're not already closed and just bring that to mind. Bring to mind a vision of your grandmothers. And if you don't have a particular vision of your grandmothers, then allow them to show up in the way that they want to show up in your mind. So just allow that in the moment. Some of you may have more than 2 grandmothers. Some of you may come from blended families and have, step grandmothers, etc. So bring those beautiful souls in as well. Even if your relationship with them was a tough one, be willing in this moment to just bring in the image of those grandmothers. And then behind those grandmothers, all of their grandmothers, so that you're seeing a beautiful audience, a sea of grandmothers standing behind your grandmothers. And just breathe that in right now. Just breathing that in. Inviting in your own grandmother lineages to be here present right now. So that the healing that you are seeking, so that whatever's missing in your heart right now, that your grandmother lineage can assist you to heal, you're just going to open to that with curiosity. So in this moment, I'm going to give you some words to say, and be willing to say them out loud so that you can hear them yourself. So as you see your grandmother standing there and all the grandmothers before, say, I see you. I see you, grandmothers. I see you. And just breathe that in. Let that energy move. It may become very emotional. And let your heart keep opening. Just keep opening the heart. Be here now, heart open. I see you, grandmothers. I see you. And just breathe. Let this move through you. And then say, I'm here now. I see you, grandmothers, and I'm here now. And just allow this powerful connection to be. In this moment now, you are witnessing and being witnessed by the grandmother wisdom in your lineage. So just let that energy flow. Let the heart open. Know that just being in this place of witness and being witnessed, there is profound healing for you here now. I see you, grandmothers, and I am here now. And just keep repeating that for a moment. And let that powerful flow of grandmother love and presence, allow it to flow into your heart. Really receive, open this portal, this beautiful grandmother wisdom portal. Open it in your heart and allow it to just flow through you in this moment. Let any emotions that want to move for you. Receive your grandmothers and their wisdom right now. And all those grandmothers that came before. Feel the power that is standing behind you. It is incredible. There is so much support for you when you call in your grandmother lineages. So just feel that support. It's here in front of you. It stands behind you. Each of us has a powerful ancestral lineage of grandmothers who were healers, grandmothers who had such incredible wisdom, who changed whole trajectories of their family lineage in some cases. I'm seeing, as I'm watching all of this beautiful energy move, I'm seeing so much power in the grandmothers in each of your lineages. So in this moment, I just want you to now say out loud to your grandmothers and to all those grandmothers that came before, say out loud, I come from a long line of wisdom grandmothers. I come from a long line of wisdom grandmothers. And just take that in, honor that, claim that out loud. It is a truth that runs through your blood and in your DNA. You wouldn't have been called to this live event had it not been for your grandmothers calling you to be here today. So there are specific gifts you are each being given by your grandmothers. So at this moment, I want you to imagine yourself holding your hands out to your grandmothers and repeating, I am here now, grandmothers. I am listening. And for a moment, I'm going to pause in silence as you listen to any wisdom your grandmothers want to share with you at this moment. And when you are complete, bowing to your grandmothers, imagine you're bowing with your palms open towards your grandmothers. And in your heart, thank you. Thank you for the life you gave me. Thank you for the life you gave my mother, who gave me life. Thank you. Thank you. And just in deep bow, in deep reverence to the wisdom of your grandmother lineage, knowing that at any moment in your meditations and prayer, you can come back to this practice, calling in your grandmother lineage, and then listening for the wisdom they have for you. So in gratitude, bowing to them, saying thank you. Thank you for all the gifts, all the blessings, all the healing. Thank you for the life that you had to say yes to for me to be here. And so just breathing this in, breathing in that gratitude, breathing in the love of your grandmother lineage and all the wisdom that is here for you. It was not forgotten. It will not be forgotten. The grandmother wisdom is rising on the planet. And this is just one example of many around the world in the coming decades where that grandmother wisdom will take the lead in many cases when it comes to world issues. Because many of us are personally being called as grandmothers to lead that way. So be willing to say yes in honor of your grandmother wisdom and the grandmothers that came before you. If you're being called to be that grandmother wisdom in the world, say yes like they did. Say yes. And know that your grandmothers will stand right behind you and they will open the doors and make way for the gifts that you have to share from the space of your grandmother wisdom heart. And so with this, I just say thank you and I bow to all of the grandmothers. I bow to all who are here and all who will continue on this journey throughout March with this beautiful Grandmother's March. And I hear all of our grandmothers saying yes, yes, yes with us, knowing that we're not alone. We have so much support behind us. And I keep hearing, grandmother gets it done. That's what I'm just hearing. So I just want to share, grandmother gets it done. That's what I'm hearing. So with that, I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. Woo. Wow. Wow. That was very emotional.
That was so, so beautiful, Linda.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And you know how we have put this whole thing together in such a inspired, extempore kind of way. And Monica decided you and I are going to do the healing circle for ancestral healing. And I was wondering what's my role here, because I could see you having to do this whole thing. So I will just share what came to me as you were doing this. So I've been channeling the 10 cosmic goddesses, and Bhuvaneshwari came to me. Bhuvaneshwari is the goddess who is the universe. She is the spider who creates the web of the universe and comes to live inside it. And if you remember, just before we started, I was talking about the Native American story of Grandmother Spider, and how the Native Americans believe that this whole world is held up like a hammock by the web of Grandmother Spider. And because that the patriarchy and everything has snipped away this net, torn that weave, humanity has fallen through into the abyss. And the big work of our time is to mend the tear so that Grandmother Spider's web is healed back again. And so I was just channeling Bhuvaneshwari and her mantra, which goes, Om Hreem Bhuvaneshwariyai Namo Namaha. And I had never made the connection of Bhuvaneshwari and the spider to Grandmother Spider. So that's what I was holding space for, as the net of all our grandmothers. And it's almost like a web of wombs that needs to be reconnected, so that through which this archetypal force, that nurturing energy that holds up and holds steady life for the planet, generations for the planet, can flow again. So thank you, Linda. Whatever you did was part of that reweaving of the torn net. That was amazing, Linda. And you touched so many. I don't even know how many people are connected, but I can see by the comments in the chat, and it's like people getting in touch and in tears and feeling their grandmothers and feeling that love or that wisdom, and how beautiful it was. So I felt my grandmother so present, and yeah, I got so emotional again. Today is like at the beginning and now, because it's just feeling their presence again and almost feeling their touch. And even, I can even remind the way they smell, which was amazing. And that was beautiful. And I could clearly hear, like, enjoy the ride. It's going to be bumpy, but enjoy it. So it's like, yeah, this is what it's going to be. And this is what is life, and yeah, this is bumpy. We don't have control of anything, and we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, at least we're here. Let's make the best out of this. I know. So, I can thank you enough. And thank you also for feeling the call and receiving the call to be here. It was very short notice also, but like you said, who has to be here is because it had to happen. And yeah, I'm so blessed.
Well, I was so very grateful to be a part of this incredible weaving that is happening. And I just feel that this is awakening. I just feel that seed, that rooting. It's just awakening something very important for our collective. So thank you, Monica, for being so courageous, like your grandmothers, to just do this. So I bow to you.
Thank you. And Nilima, thanks always for holding our space here and your wisdom. So, thank you, beautiful women. And I invite Margery, my partner in this, so we can start closing. Any last words of wisdom you want to say, Nilima? And help us close. This is your part of this, so why not?
I was just writing to Turi to say I can leave here if, you know, I just click leave studio to leave, but then I don't know if I leave the whole platform, so I wasn't sure how do I exit. But no, really, I would like to end today by just deeply honoring both of you, Monica and Margery. The ease and grace and joy and that very kairos way, out of ordinary time, you know, that you have operated. You've just trusted deep time that you will get us here today. And maybe all of us never expected we would get here today the way we have. And it's been beyond our wildest dreams and expectations. So it's how the two of you have held this space that has allowed this evening, this opening event to manifest. So just deep bows to you and so much love and gratitude and pride in both of you.
Thank you. We are so happy and grateful to have you here with us, because we know that you are the big supporter and mentor of all this. It all was born through Shakti. So thanks to your amazing work, we're here today, and this is being born. And let's call many other Shakti sisters and fellows to keep doing all this work, because this is become your inspiration, and that's what you're doing, and bringing the best out of us. That's what we're here today. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you so very much, Nilima. There's not much I can add to what Monica already said so beautifully. But I also want to thank Monica for what you put all together with inviting all these guests and so many, many, many more to come. It's really, it's so impressive what you have created today and in the month of March coming up. And I was really impressed with this beautiful healing session of Linda. I could really feel this lineage of all these grandmothers. It's not only the persons, it's this whole lineage that's behind them, and the saying yes. So this is how we started. We said yes. We said yes. Here we are. So this was the beautiful opening session. More to come this month. More to come even today. You can find the program or the activities on the Rosita and Pepa website or on the Grandmothers March website. I would like to recommend also a session tomorrow being done by Fatma Cheng. It's also going to be a live session on also a healing circle or a healing cycle. I don't know what she exactly is going to do, but it's on mothers, on daughters, on grandmothers. So I can really recommend it, but many, many more other interesting things coming up. And I was hoping, Monica, that Margery would come and share some more chanting.
Yeah. Let's share a little bit of and I want to honor you and thank you also for being partner in this and being my accountability partner. That's the way we call it in Shakti. This has been amazing. Without you, I wouldn't make it possible, you know. And the rest was just flowing. I just let it happen, and I just show up, and I guess, put the intention. My grandmas for sure are weaving this also together with me. I know that. I can feel it. And everybody that show up is because they had to be here. So thank you. I honor you as the grandmother of today and the amazing work and project that you are also doing, because we have to call the grandmas of today and give them a voice and understand that you have a special and very important role, and what you're doing also in weaving stories about what powerful women and reference that we need. That's amazing. So we want to hear more from you, Margery, for sure. And you will have your session during the month. We haven't still published it, but I'm waiting for that because we all need to hear about you and your amazing work. So I want to share a little bit. Thank you, Nilima. Thank you, Marge. Before we go to Margery, because she's going to close us today with a beautiful, beautiful chant again, I'm going to just share with everybody again about the agenda so everybody's aware a little bit of what's happening this afternoon. And here we go. Oh, I hope everybody's seen it. So we close now with Margery and the reminders. There's this afternoon, we keep having sessions, pre-recorded ones. So it's going to be live, but you're going to have pre-recorded. So I'm not going to be there, or Abby or Juanita and Jyoti. We pre-recorded interviews because they were all busy and in other time zones, but amazing woman you cannot miss. So at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will have a wisdom talk with Abby Daniel Bewick, and she's in the Three Sisters organization, and she's amazing. And I want to remind that Three Sisters organization, I support them. I am a Three Sister as well, and they have been also celebrating International Women's Day during this month, starting on March 1st, and tomorrow they have their closing with a Three Sisters Circle, and our talking is about that. And she will be in another session during the month, showing her own sacred work about wisdom, about the cycles of women and the wisdom of those cycles. And she does such an amazing work. And at 3 p.m., we're going to be sharing the wisdom talk with Juanita Robertson, which she is an amazing woman. And she brings all this ancestral healing and all that she does with leadership through the ancestors. And she's an amazing coach and leader and speaker. And at 4 p.m. Eastern time, the wisdom talk with Jyotima. And Jyotima, when I started all this work, I found about the 13 Grandmothers Council, Indigenous grandmothers, and she was the one that, through her sacred work and through all her path, that she's going to tell the story and bring them together. She brought everybody together some years ago, when she keeps working with all these sacred energies, and she has the Center for Sacred Studies and many beautiful other works that she's doing to creating new systems and new ways of being in the world. So keep tuned this afternoon, and more to come, because this is a celebration during the whole month, and we have published in the event, in the discussions, you can find the agenda or the schedule for the month. So tomorrow we also have amazing talk with Nikki Lumana, which is the producer and director of the movie The Time of the Sixth Ton. So a beautiful Nikki Luna, this is amazing. Marjolaine said about Fatma, she will bring these healing circles and feminine wisdom circles, and also about being a mother. And 7 p.m. tomorrow we'll have Sheila Sophia, which she has an amazing work all through intentional creativity and art, and invoking the feminine wisdom through that. March 13, we will have some Saturday grandmas from Israel sharing their wisdom with Iris Sadek. She's older Shakti and sister. March 14, we'll have wisdom talk with Yvonne Song. She's in Shanghai, and she's a leader at L'Oreal company in the corporate world, and she's going to tell us how her grandmothers inspire all her work. And at 12 p.m. same time, Stephanie Ray, a beautiful coach, beautiful person I met recently through WIN conference, and Kristin Engvig. She has some feminine circles, wisdom circles that she's going to offer. March 15, we have Avi with what I told you about the feminine cycles wisdom. She's going to offer a session. March 20th, we have Grandma from India, and that's Nilima's mom sharing stories. Some of these dates may change, so keep tuned and stay tuned, and we will keep posting, and we will have also aligned in Dinos that Nilima mentioned. She's also the founder on the Kindred Lane, and she has a lot of work based and inspired in ancestors as well, and her beautiful grandmother. March 21st, some of these schedules may change, especially the feminine circle with Stephanie, but we will post more about that. And we will have an amazing session to close with Christina Arylo that you saw today on the panel discussion. And she will bring lots of delightful things about feminine wisdom and fierce and grace and feminine wisdom way, that all that she's working with. And we will have extra session with Stephanie Ray, so you can participate in her feminine wisdom circles. So I stopped sharing, and I just wanted to share with all of you the amazing things that we have during the month, and maybe more to come because more people are showing up, and some others of you are suggesting some other speakers that we can have here and invite. And now I welcome again Margery Bray to help us close this amazing day. You have been so delightful. Like you have taken us to grieving, to discomfort, to laugh with the stories of the piggy and all your amazing, beautiful wisdom. Thank you much for being here today and holding also the space for us. So yeah, I think it's now with you.
Okay.
Okay, and you're gonna, if you are gonna chant, I don't know if you feel like chanting before or telling the story about the chant, but it's with you. And after that, we leave everybody on their dreams, and yeah, they keep moving. And thank you for everything. So sending love.
Canino stop Yarwipeno. All the willows are sleeping, birdies are nestling together. Dreamangus is harping o'er the heather. Dreams to sell, fine dreams to sell. Angus is here with dreams to sell. Hushie, my Barney, and sleep without fear. Dream Angus has brought ye a dream, my dear. Hush, with a carlo crying, oh, softly the echoes dying, oh. Even the birds and the beasties are sleeping, but my bonny burn as weepin', weepin', dreams to sell, fine dreams to sell. Angus is here with dreams to sell. Hush ye, my Barney, and sleep without fear. Dream Angus has brought ye a dream, my dear. Dream, dream. Angus has brought ye a dream, my dear.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And you have to tell us a little bit about this song if you want to share, because I know it's very special to you and about that goddess and about that God is not a goddess. Yeah.
It's a song about Dream Angus, maker of dreams, who is one of the Celtic gods, and he puts children to sleep with good dreams. That's really all I have to say about it.
That's all we need. And thank you. Thank you, and sweet dreams for everybody.
Sweet dreams.
Sending love.
Bye, bye, bye.
And thanks everybody for participating. Sweet dreams. Stay tuned and follow us for more. Have an amazing day and happy International Women's Day and month. Bye bye.